Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me start by congratulating you for being elected as Deputy Speaker of this House. Last time I made my contribution, I congratulated the Speaker, but I had not congratulated you. I have no doubt in my mind that you lead this House and conduct the affairs of this House diligently and objectively. And I hope that the 4 members who are also going to constitute the chairman's panel will get members with experience and ability to help you run the House. Having said that, Madam Speaker, allow me to make my contributions to the speech of the President. First, I want to state that this House has a collective responsibility to oversight and hold the executive to account as a unit. But I'm also alive to the fact that this side of the House, the minority side, or the opposition as it used to be called, has an extra responsibility to even hold the executive to account much more. I am sure that we are not going to provide parochial opposition. We are going to provide an objective opposition. We will support government policies that are geared towards helping better the lives of Kenyans, and only oppose those policies which would make us roll back on the gains that this country has made so far. So you expect a robust opposition from us, an opposition that is informed with objectivity and helping the country to move forward. Madam Speaker, President Ruto is taking over a country that is so divided, a country that is divided right down in the middle, a country where 50% or near 50% voted for him, and another 50% or near 50% did not vote for him. This is a country that requires real symbol of national unity. I am happy that the President did indicate in his speech that he's going to run a united country, that service delivery is going to be given to all Kenyans in equal measure, regardless of where you voted, because we are all taxpayers. And that is something that needs to be lauded. And so now what we are waiting for is action. Madam Speaker, the only thing that I would have requested or asked is of the Deputy President to also follow what the President has said. I was a bit disturbed when the news came out that the Deputy President said something to the effect that it is their turn to eat. I hope he was misquoted. Madam Speaker, public appointments belong to Kenyans. Public appointments, whether position of permanent or principal secretaries, those positions are positions in the public and civil service and are not supposed to be used as a reward for political support. Those positions belong to all of us, whether you voted Azimio or you voted Kenya Kwanza. And how I wish that the Deputy President understood that. So, Madam Speaker, we expect the Public Service Commission to be impartial and not to be a subject or a victim of state capture. Having said that, Madam Speaker, something that worries me a lot is that however short or brief the speech of the President was, but I expected at least a line on devolution. If the President could remember National Government Constituency Development Fund, which I support as a very progressive fund, then I wonder how he could forget to mention something on devolution. He even spoke about the Senate Oversight Fund, but did not say a thing on devolution. If there is one thing that has changed the architecture of governance in this country, it is devolution from 2013. And this is something that should always find a space in the speech of a President of the Republic of Kenya. So I hope because he was summarizing his speech. Probably it was left among the very many volumes that I saw he did not read. I could see that the president read a portion of his speech and decided to leave others. And being an intelligent man, he must have summarized it in a way that we couldn't even notice that he left out some. I just want to assume that devolution was part of the rest of his speech. Because if it is not, then it would worry me. The president talked a lot about economy in his short speech, and even proposed that he would start by cutting our budget by about 300 billion shillings. I thought that was a bit ambitious, but I'm waiting to see through the supplementary budget what the Treasury has for us to actualize the pronouncements by the president. However, I don't think the solution is on the quantum of the budget as such, or the cutting down of the budget as such. To me, I think we should focus as a country on misuse of resources, on governance issues, and look at the fiscal discipline in this country, what you can call corruption. And Madam Speaker, I don't understand why the president is finding it so hard to call corruption corruption. I rarely hear my president talks about corruption. He will always cut corners and use language that is close to corruption, but he will not call it corruption. I would want President William Ruto to call corruption corruption. If there is one thing that he should disobey his policy of bottom up, it is on corruption. This one must be top down. This must be fought top down. You can't fight it bottom up. This one you must fight top down. The president, who is the head of this country, must come out forthrightly, forcefully, and call corruption corruption, and make life unbearable for those who are corrupt. These are the people who are making our budget be inflated. These are the same people who are making this country lack resources to be able to implement the projects that we should implement. And Madam Speaker, I want to just advise the executive, if they can take my advice, the time is running out. Honeymoon is over. Today, it is exactly 30 days since they were sworn in office. And the deputy president is still talking over here. He doesn't believe. If you don't believe and Kenyans are expecting services, what do you want us to do? Please believe and start delivering services. We want the cost of living to come down, the price of fuel to come down, and don't now talk about Ukraine war. During campaigns, you said Ukraine war has nothing to do with this. Now we are joining you in cheering that Ukraine is very far from Kenya. We want the price of fuel, petroleum products to come down. The price of unga must come down to 80 shillings, as we were promised. There is no more time to move around. My president, now you have already sold yourself as a Kenyan leader internationally. We now want you here, back home, and sit, and very soon we are going to give you your cabinet. Once you have that cabinet, please perform. Kenyans don't want any more wastage of time because the economy is down. That is a fact, we all agree, but we will support you to make sure that this economy is resuscitated only with good policies. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And now I call the ranking member for Garissa constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will not take a lot of time in contributing to the speech of my president. And I've done it 3 times. I contributed to the main speech of President Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now to the only president and a friend of mine, President William Ruto. And the Speaker, for the first time, his speech was, I think, 1 hour. Members who were here last time, you remember President Uhuru former president left his speech halfway and even threw it here. I think he left it at the speaker's place. Because those who write speech, you don't allow the president to repeat. So President Ruto did not repeat what he said at his inauguration. He didn't repeat what he said at the UN General Assembly. He didn't repeat what he said yesterday. He will say what is there today. And I think his key areas to pick was to make sure that the Big Four agenda in the plan are implemented. Universal health care for every Kenyan. Housing, and all these housing, affordable, cheap housing, every Kenyan to live in a decent house, turn the payment of rent into ownership of houses. Thirdly, to make sure Kenya is food secure. And even before his cabinet sits, he reduced, first promises, the prices of fertilizer. He's dealing with the drought as we speak today. He appointed the 6 judges who the Constitution allowed, but because of impunity, the former president refused. He called Safaricom and told them, we know the owners of Fuliza. Reduced Fuliza by 80%. In 30 days, Honorable Bandi, a ranking member, what President William Ruto has done, other presidents have all done in 2 years. And for corruption, watch his space. If you are involved in KEMSA, if you have a file, whether you belong to Kenya Kwanza, whether you belong to the opposition, he categorically said he will empower and support financially the oversight independent institutions which for 5 years were captured by the state mandarins. The office of the DPP, EACC, Auditor General, Honorable Wandai said, I served as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. The controller of budget was harassed by the Minister for Finance. The Inspector General of Police, today, if there is an incident in any constituency, he has the capacity and the financial muscle to do his operational without any hindrance. All these were done within 30 days. If William Ruto will either be, President William Ruto will be either like President Kibaki, who left us with a debt of 1.8 trillion, or he will be better. And I am one person who believes if Kenya will not change under the leadership of the chief hustler, it will never change. There is optimism. There is a lot of excitement in the region and in Africa. Never have you seen 21 presidents coming for an inauguration. There used to be a handful of 10, 15. Kenya is a hub, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have a young, energetic, sober president. A president who only takes tea, like me. He only takes tea. A good listener. A president who believes in the unity of people. Check, since he was in ODM, URP, Jubilee, and UDA, he has never appointed any of his relatives to this house. Compare, he appointed, his party has been appointing the marginalized, women, person who listens to women. Let us judge William Ruto in a very fair way, even if you're in the opposition. And today I'm very happy. My colleague, the ranking member, has really confirmed to all and sundry that he has taken his place in the minority and in the opposition. This country needs an effective and robust opposition. It was not there last time. Last time we do know who was government. The opposition You know that handshake killed this country. It gave us extra 7 trillion. 7 trillion. And that is why we need to reconfigure the budget. And even this House, the budget of the Parliament Service Commission must be ready to be slashed. And we must not rush to the Chinese loans anymore. We must borrow. If we have to borrow, we must borrow from the multilaterals that will give us cheaper rates at 3%, longer period. We don't want these Chinese who come, and they come with their companies, Kenyans lose, they offload their population. Imagine a Chinese truck driver in a construction site. This House must rise to the occasion. And those of us who will, if the House approves me, we will not allow Kenya's place to be occupied by foreigners. Dear colleagues, and because majority are new, I really want to ask you, please make laws that will help our country. Even when government bring laws, scrutinize them. You know, the last 4 years, and I think now everybody knows the deep state and the what were they called, the system. Those are fallacy. Even I'm sure if the chief is no longer a deep state. The county commissioner has realized he is not a deep state. The DPP could not work. He was told, choose which file to take to court. The EACC, there was gun on the head. Look for the file of Eden Duale and don't take this one. The judiciary was marshaled. The controller of budget could not say that counties has overshoot their recurrent expenditure. Our counties are employing 50–60% outside the PFM requirement of 35. Honorable Bandi and team, you will watch from TV the way this country will change. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. You know, Honorable Kiraitu Murungi in 2002 said, President Moi, go home and buy a TV. I am telling you, buy a TV. May God give you more years to live, and watch how William Samoei Arap Ruto will transform this country. Please, buy a TV. Debt level will come down. In 30 days, Honorable Mbandi and the rest, in 30 days, we have stopped subsidy of petroleum products. No, I am not a minister. I am a member for Garissa Township. Madam Speaker, you need to protect me. I am the member, and I want to thank the people of Garissa Township. They elected me 4 times in 4 different political parties. ODM, URP, Jubilee, and now in UDA. That tells you they have the confidence in the leadership, and all that I moved with William Ruto. They were telling me, go with William Ruto. He took me to ODM. He took me to URP. He took me, but I didn't mind because I was a pastoralist. Madam Speaker, I am so happy that what I said many years ago, that I will retire from politics when William Ruto in the State House. That dream has been achieved, and God bless Kenya, God bless the government of William Ruto, and I hope this House will provide the leadership. I know we have a very vibrant opposition. We have got very good leaders on the other side. Let us all work together to protect the interests of our people. And thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We'll now have member for Konoin, will be followed by member for Nandi County, and then member for Matungu, so that you can be ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank the people of Konoin for giving me a second chance and voting me for the second time to be in this House and to represent their interests. I would also like to appreciate the people of Kenya for voting in President William Samoei Ruto and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, and also congratulate you and our speaker for being elected in the House to serve in this parliament. Madam Speaker, in the President's speech, he captured a number of fundamental issues that are in the plan or the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. One of it is food, nutrition, and security. The mission to scale production in agriculture while creating jobs is one of the fundamental issues that was mentioned, and Konoin constituency being one of the constituencies that depend on tea. Actually, 80% of our of farming activities in Konoin constituency is revolving around tea. And Madam Speaker, the fertilizer subsidy to lower cost of production is welcomed, and it will serve our people and improve in regards to production of tea. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, we also have multinational companies that are covering almost 1/3 of the constituency. That is the Unilever Tea, James Finlay, and Williamson Tea. In the spirit of employment that is born through agricultural production, these multinationals have exhibited some misbehavior and bad manners, and they've actually sent home more than 15,000 employees through forced voluntary early retirement, through redundancy, through disciplinary dismissal, and this has actually rendered very many of my constituents jobless due to the proliferation of machines that have been introduced. And this has done more harm than good. Madam Speaker, we need to call upon these multinational companies to be able to exercise and balance between mechanization, profit, and employment, so that our people, as much as we appreciate mechanization, the multinational must also appreciate that the only benefit that we get from them is actually employment. And when they are no longer employing our people, then they will have outlived their usefulness. Madam Speaker, I'm calling upon this multinational to rethink in the lines of balancing between mechanization, profit, and employment, so that we can get as many people as possible employed in the multinational companies. Madam Speaker, President emphasized on the ASLA fund, and this is actually to support small and medium enterprises through affordable credit, and also so that the small and medium enterprises can expand their businesses, so that the Mamamboga, the Kinyozi, the boda industry can actually thrive and expand in regards to the bottom-up model. Madam Speaker, the President also talked about matters water, and he talked about raising target of access to water from the current 60% to 80%. In my constituency, there was a water project called Bosta water project. And this water project was to serve 5 constituencies. 4 constituencies in Bomet and 1 constituency in Kericho County. So far, the project has been funded by Chinese Exim Bank. But the previous regime sabotaged this project for political reason. In the spirit of raising the target of water from 60 to 80%, we hope and we pray and we beseech this government to actually jumpstart this particular project, because the money is still lying in the treasury, so that this project, Bosta Water Project, can start as quick as possible, so that we can get access to clean running tap water. Madam Speaker, there is the NHIF, which the President spoke about, and this actually NHIF should be restructured to enable it become fit for the purpose of social insurance scheme that caters for all, including the chronic illnesses. Madam Speaker, this NHIF should cater for terminal diseases like cancer, as this disease has actually drained many families from the resources. Many families have sold their land and property to pay for hospital bills. And since this government of Kenya Kwanza has promised to align and restructure the NHIF, we are really appreciating it, and we say that is a plausible initiative. Madam Speaker, the President also talked about the NGCDF. And he said any NGCDF should be aligned to the Constitution, and because it has impacted a lot in our societies. The bursaries that we give to the orphans, the vulnerable in the society, has actually helped them to achieve their goals. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. God bless Kenya.
Thank you. Member for Nandi County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand today privileged to be part of the 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, this privilege and honor has been bestowed upon me by the great people of Nandi, and I want to pass my sincere gratitude to them for having seen value in me, for having voted for me overwhelmingly on 9th of August to come to this House. Honorable Speaker, I want to say to the people of Nandi that I'm indebted to them, and I will ensure that I serve them selflessly, and I will ensure that I pay back whatever they did on 9th of August by ensuring that I give responsive and responsible leadership. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that my voice is their voice in this House. I shall speak for every child in Nandi County. I shall speak for every girl who needs encouragement. I'll speak for every woman who needs a shoulder to lean on. And I'll speak for every group that is special, and every boy and man who is trying to find a footing in their life, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that said, I want to say that, of course, I'm a new honorable member in this House, and I want to say that my name is Cynthia Muge. I was born and bred in Nandi, probably for Nandi and this country at large. Honorable Speaker, I am a daughter, I am a wife, and I am a mother, and that all in one complete package, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, by training, I'm a physical planner, trained and educated in the University of Nairobi with a bachelor's and with a master's degree also, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, every person would be wondering that how did this person end up in this House? Honorable Speaker, my political journey started 5 years ago in 2017 when I was a young, small girl, a tiny girl who would pass for a uniformed Form 2 girl. Honorable Speaker, I went into the murky waters of politics and actually ran for the position of Member of County Assembly. I ran, and I thank God I was given the opportunity to serve the people of Kilibwani, and I want to say thank you to those the great people of Kilibwani. It is the star and the seed that they planted in 2017, Honorable Speaker, that has eventually grown leaves, very broad leaves, Honorable Speaker, that today cover the whole county. I want to say thank you to those great people, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the easiest part is done. The easiest part was to be elected. And now the hardest part begins, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say this, the responsibility that has been given to me and before me is no joke, Honorable Speaker. It is enormous. But I want to say that in my village, I come from the same village, Honorable Speaker, where Chelagad Mutai, who was elected to this august house at 24 years of age. Chelagad Mutai, Honorable Speaker, did a great job in this house. She is the person who stood for the people and fought for the land rights of the people. And the people of Uasin Gishu then were able to get lands, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say that the shoe that Chelagad Mutai, I cannot fit in it, Honorable Speaker, so to speak, because it was actually shoed at a different point in life, in a different era, where things were done differently. But Honorable Speaker, I want to say I will take her lesson seriously so that I can be able to shoe my shoe size going forward, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that in this house, I hope to be able to speak up. In this house, Honorable Speaker, I hope to be able to play my constitutional role. In this house, Honorable Speaker, I hope to be the representative of the people, so that the people that I represent and the Kenyans at large, Honorable Speaker, are able to see value for their money and every coin that they have in this government. Of course, Honorable Speaker, with the assurance of the President that his administration will be able to rely on the oversight of this Assembly, I want to say that I shall play that role without demonization of checks and balances. Honorable Speaker, I hope that through me and through this House, Kenya Kwanza is able to implement the plan and the people of Kenya are able to get the promises that were made to Kenya, to the country at large, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just to say a few words about the President's speech that he made last week, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that for the first time, we have a president who is careful and detailed. He is a president who remembered to count the number of women who were elected to this house. He is a president who remembered the number of members that came back to this house, Honorable Speaker. And that tells you a lot about him, Honorable Speaker. He is a president whom during his campaign trail, he has spoken about economy. He is keen on ensuring that the economy of this country is back to where it was and where it was left by Kibaki, and even better. Honorable Speaker, I remember that he spoke about healthcare. Honorable Speaker, it should be noted that any person who speaks about savings is a futuristic person, is a person who looks into the future and actually wants to ensure that that future comes and it will be enjoyed by everyone. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the President also, of course, spoke to the Hustler Fund, spoke to taxation issues, and was able to speak to the housing issues which are affecting the people of Kenya. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that that particular speech, as much as many honorable members have said that it was short, I want to say that every person who has the story header has the story in full. So I want everyone to know that the President, of course, he was trying to be brief and not to be boring, but he has the content and the detailed and the plan and the roadmap to ensuring that this happens, Honorable Speaker, in this country. And I hope all the honorable members in this House will be instrumental during their representation role, their oversight role, and their legislation role to ensure that the President delivers. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you and thank the honorable members of this House and the great people of Nandi for according me this golden opportunity to speak in this House as a representative. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Nandi, for keeping time. I think now we call the honorable member for Matungu. Thereafter, we'll have the nominated member, Catherine Omayo, after.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to address the 13th Parliament and to talk to the people of Matungu. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity first to congratulate you for having been elected the Deputy Speaker of the 13th Parliament. And I also take this opportunity to congratulate my mentor and my friend, the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, for having been elected the Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, I have a history with the Speaker, Wetangula, because he is my mentor politically. When I left my employment in Parliament, he's the first one who impressed me politically, campaigned for me, gave me a ticket in his party, and actually has mentored me up to this point in time. Madam Speaker, second, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the people of Matungu for overwhelmingly voting for me 2 times strongly in 2 years. First in 2021 and second in 2022. That is a vote of confidence by the people of Matungu with me, and I embrace it, and I promise that I will work for the people of Matungu to make sure that I achieve what I promised them during the campaigns. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to say a few words about what the President said in this House, the 13th Parliament. The President first, I allow the President for acknowledging the fact that CDF is an important fund in the constituency's development. And he encouraged us and he told us that we can work out something to align that fund to the Constitution so that it works for the Member of Parliament and it works for the constituents that actually are the direct beneficiaries of that fund. And by any means and by all means, everybody understands that CDF is an important fund to the development of the constituency. Millions and millions of children have been educated through CDF, and a lot has been achieved through CDF. Unfortunately, it's only the judiciary that doesn't understand the importance of that fund. But that's a matter for another day. Madam Speaker, other than that, I want to register my disappointment because the President did not give any commitment about the revival of the sugar industry in the Western region, and more so, the revival of Mumias Sugar Company. I am a representative of the people of Matungu, and the people of Matungu are 100%. During those days, the people of Matungu 100% depended on Mumias Sugar Company. With the collapse of Mumias Sugar Company collapsed with the dreams and aspirations of the people of Matungu and Mumias at large. And it is very imperative that the government of the day has to give some importance to the revival of the sugar industry. It gives us sleepless nights. It actually saddens us when the government of the day decides to ignore the issue of Mumias Sugar Company. The issue of Mumias Sugar Company is a very thorny issue to us. The residents of Matungu are desperate. Mumias Sugar Company was only their livelihood. We depended on Mumias Sugar Company 100% to achieve all our dreams. But unfortunately, it collapsed. All efforts to revive Mumias Sugar Company over the years have failed. For whatever reason, everything that has been tried about Mumias Sugar Company has failed. Right now, we have a businessman who is trying to revive the Mumias Sugar Company, but we have numerous court cases going on to stop the revival of Mumias Sugar Company. It is time that the government has to intervene and make sure that Mumias Sugar Company actually stands on its feet for the benefit of the people of that region. Madam Speaker, the people of that region and the people of Matungu are tired of being told to move on from the sugarcane farming. We are not going to move on because sugarcane farming is the only business we know. We have tried everything else, it has failed. We have tried maize, we have tried sorghum, we have tried cassavas, we have tried even avocados, but nothing is working for us. So we want our sugarcane back. And it's only the government that can help us. And so if the government can't help us, then we shall remain hopeless, because we are not going to move on. We are not going to do the other things. So people should stop telling us to move on, because we are not going to move on. We are going to farm sugarcane, and we want it to be revived. Madam Speaker, the issue of youth employment did not come out strongly in the president's speech. This country, 75% of the population of this country is youth. But where do we take them? There is no elaborate plan for youth employment in this country. There is no elaborate plan for people to rise up from the poverty. We hear of the Hustler Fund. If actually they are serious with the Hustler Fund, the government, then they should give a good percentage of that fund to the farmers of Matungu and Mumias at large, so that they can replant the cane, so that they can supply that cane to Mia Sugar Company and other companies, so that they can revive the sugarcane farming industry. Madam Speaker, this country, the economy, everybody agrees that the economy is in shambles. And instead of the government also joining the Wananchi in crying about the bad economy, it should give us an elaborate plan about what they are going to do to revive the economy in the shortest time possible. Madam Speaker, there is a plan that was elaborated by the president, that we should cut down costs. Instead of cutting down costs, the government should come up with a wealth creation method. We are not in the mood of cutting costs, we are in the mood of creating wealth. So the government should create wealth instead of cutting costs. Nobody is ready to surrender their allowances or whatever they have targeted, just because we want to revive the economy. The first step is the government to give us an elaborate plan on how to revive this economy, and on how most small enterprises are going to get a boost or a kickstart, so that they can be empowered instead of waiting to be employed in a white-collar economy. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg support.
Thank you. Member for Busia.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to, first of all, thank the people of Busia for overwhelmingly voting for me. It was a landslide, and I will not take that for granted, because the task ahead of me is just to keep serving them. I want to make sure that the children who cross swamps in Busia to go to school, it becomes a history. And also our children, or rather fishermen in Busia who are in jail for fishing in Kenyan side of the lake, are also taken away from jail. I just want to also emphasize that the widows, elderly, and people living with the disability in Busia have got a mother. And I want to still thank them for believing that I can take care of them. About the president's speech, he did not mention about GMO, but he is implementing. What I don't know is he ignorant of the disadvantages of GMO? Because where I sit, GMO is toxic to our bodies, and GMO causes loss of nutrition. We already have malnutritioned children and even adults in Kenya. Why should we bring such a thing again to our nation? GMO causes cancer and it causes antibiotic resistance. So I do not know, because in his speech he never mentioned about GMO. We should, as members of parliament and leaders of this nation, we should be brought to knowledge of some things before they are introduced to us. Kenya has a natural habitat and very fertile soil. We wouldn't love to downgrade that. And then I also wanted just to know if the president, because he didn't again mention about the perforated boundaries. I recently witnessed Kenyans dying like chicken in Baringo. And people who do that are known. As a mother, I wept. And nobody should be sleeping pretty wanting to lead graves in Kenya. We want to lead people who are alive, and Kenyans should not live in fear. Thank you.
Member for Tigania West. He's not here. Member for Ugenya.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to also join fellow members in congratulating you for being elected Deputy Speaker for the 13th Parliament, Madam Speaker. I know who you are. I know how you take matters seriously. And I know that this Parliament is in good hands with you as Deputy Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to also take this opportunity to thank the people of Ugenya, who against all odds have stood with me, who against all odds have seen me come back to this Parliament, even when everyone thought that I would not come back, even when everyone who cared had written me off, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the people of Ugenya profusely for having faith in me, in being able to champion their agenda, their wishes, aspirations, and their needs at the national level in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, we are here to discuss the speech given by the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, on the 29th of September this year. Madam Speaker, there are things that we take for granted. There are things that we think just happen. Madam Speaker, we must thank Kenyans for being peaceful, for being civil, for being mature democratic, Madam Speaker. You know, if you look at what happens in our neighboring countries, Madam Speaker, you'd appreciate the fact that our democracy is growing, the fact that our democracy is maturing, the fact that a time is going to come when elections will just be a matter of course. They will not cause jitters, they will not cause opprobrium, they will not cause panic in the country. Madam Speaker, if you looked at the economy before the elections and now, and if you remember what we have gone through in some times in elections, Madam Speaker, you'd appreciate the fact that the president's recognizing that we've come so far in our democracy is important. What I must say at this point, Madam Speaker, is that the fact that our democracy is maturing should not be taken for granted. We must continue nurturing it so that the president has promised, and we must keep nudging him as an assembly, that he must run an accountable government, an open government, a transparent government, Mr. Speaker. As in Kenya Kwanza, will ensure that the president carries out his role in a manner that the law requires and in a manner that follows the law. As someone said earlier, Madam Speaker, our president is not one who is averse to criticism. He is not one who wants us to be a choir in this assembly. He is one who has said that he does not have monopoly of knowledge. He is one who has said that he wants to share the views of this country, the views of this parliament, to ensure that what the country needs gets into his thinking, interferes with his thoughts, and he has said that this parliament should not be timid. This parliament should not sit back. This parliament should oversight his government accordingly. And I want to invite all of us to take the president's challenge and ensure that he runs a government that responds to the needs of our people. Speaker, number two, most importantly, is the place of education in the growth of our economy. The acceleration does not mean that we throw education out and anything goes. The acceleration means that everybody who has a chance and wants to get education, everyone who wants to get his papers right, everyone wants to grow by ensuring that their children access education, their children get the best quality of education, Mr. Speaker, in this country, Madam Speaker, this country is able to get it. That, Madam Speaker, the president wants to run a country based on merit. And so I want to ask all of us not to give up on education. It's a key thing. And that's why when I hear the court saying that anybody can run for governor, that anybody can run for MP, that education doesn't matter, Mr. Speaker, we are sending the wrong signals, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask all of us to ensure that wherever we come from, education is the only equalizer to anything in this world. If you didn't go to school, Madam Speaker, you won't end anywhere. And so investing in education is something that we must keep talking about, that we must keep doing, that we must ensure that as a country, our best, as the premise of Singapore, Lee Wan Yew had said, that we must be led by the best in our midst. We must be led by people who know what is required in the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the president talked about investing in agriculture. Our country is agriculture-based. What we must do as a people is to ensure that we become food secure. And how do you do so? Madam Speaker, we must invest at the lowest level of the economy. Everyone who wants to farm should be able to access quality seed, affordable fertilizer, Madam Speaker. If it is avocado, if it is cotton, if it is maize, if it is millet, if it is potato. Let's ensure that everybody who is willing to use his energy, everyone who is willing to use her energy to benefit, to earn a living in this country, Madam Speaker, is supported. And that's why we're going to be requesting, and we're going to ensure this parliament that we sort out the supply side constraints and the demand side constraints on agriculture. Let's ensure that our people are able to be taught. Let's bring back the extension service officers that used to help us in agriculture. Let's bring back, Madam Speaker, the ensuring that people are able to know the modern methods of farming, modern methods of cooling milk, modern methods of ensuring that our farm produce not go into waste because we don't have storage facilities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, irrigation is very important for food security and stability, Madam Speaker. The failure of Galana Kulalu is very fresh in our minds. The failure of dams is very fresh in our minds, Madam Speaker. And so we'll be ensuring as an assembly that where money is put in agriculture for irrigation, where money is put to ensure that our people become food secure, as an assembly, we must ensure that the money is used for the right reasons. Corruption should not seep into monies that are meant to benefit our people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've heard so many members saying that the president didn't talk about corruption. Madam Speaker, I don't believe that barking at corruption, I don't believe that shouting at corruption makes it go away. The approach adopted by our president that says that will ensure that institutions that are supposed to fight corruption are well-funded, well-resourced, well-equipped, Madam Speaker, better speaks for itself than people in this assembly, in the last parliament, Madam Speaker, and the other one. In the last parliament, the last president brought us here a list of PSS, ministers, Madam Speaker, who he claimed were corrupt. To date, none of them has ever been convicted by the court of law. Madam Speaker, I don't think we should be asking our president to talk about corruption. We should be asking those we have given that job to do by law. There's no law that requires the president to fight corruption. The law is set up in this assembly and in the constitution sets up the EACC. It's the body that fights corruption, not the president. And so the president, what we want from him
is to ensure that he doesn't try to stop any prosecution, he doesn't try to stop any investigation. But saying that the president must talk about corruption, while corruption must speak up, I think for me is quite weak. We've had guys who talk about corruption every day. We will fight corruption, we will deal with corruption, but under their noses, people steal and they don't talk about it. And so the approach, in my opinion, by the president to nudge our institutions, and in this issue I want to insist that the DCI, the EACC, and our courts are the ones to blame. They're the ones that we must ensure that as an assembly we put on their toes, not the president. Corruption seeps everywhere in this country, Madam Speaker. Everywhere. Primary schools, nursery schools, everywhere you go is corruption. I don't think the president has 1,000 eyes to be checking how we live. And so fighting corruption is going to be, in my opinion, a concerted effort. All of us must play a role in it, not just saying corruption is bad, and when you're found in it, then you say that you're being, witch-hunted, Madam Speaker. We must put the blame where it lies. Madam Speaker, the president proposes a very good project on housing. All we need to do as this assembly is ensure that, as he has said, if it's doors, they'll be bought in Kisumu if the house is being built in Kisumu. If you're building houses in Kakamega, let the doors, the hinges, the windows be produced in Kisumu, Madam Speaker. Finally, Madam Speaker, this president means well. We cannot pray that he fails, because if he fails, we fail. I want to ask all of us here, the minority and the majority, let's pray for this president to succeed. Let's help him succeed. For if he succeeds, we succeed and the country succeeds. Thank you so much.
Let's go first to the next member. Then. Member for Baringo North.
Thank you,
Give us a
Madam.
minute, just let him finish. And
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, I want to thank God through the people of Baringo North who gave me an opportunity to become a member of parliament on this 13th parliament, a dream that started in 1984 when I was in Standard 4. But when I saw parliament then I said, this is truly where I shall be in many years to come. Madam Speaker, I also want to thank the people of Baringo North in all their wards, their religious leaders, and even the people who prayed for me, and the Simba Nimocha campaign team, which delivered victory in a military precision. Madam Speaker, I also want to thank the people of Baringo North, together with the people of Kenya, for giving His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto an opportunity to become the 50th President of the Republic of Kenya, and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. And more specifically, Madam Speaker, I want to extend on behalf of the people of Baringo North, which told me over this weekend, to also convey thanks to the people of Mount Kenya who gave us a huge vote, together with the other Kenyans who actually gave us an opportunity to elect William Ruto as our 50th president and the deputy president. And through us who have been elected, Madam Speaker, we had an opportunity to elect you and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and I want to congratulate you because, first, citizens. Secondly, members of parliament. Thirdly, you are the product of our election. Congratulations, Madam Speaker, together with the Speaker of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, now turning to the President's speech. Madam Speaker, William Ruto is a product of God's work, because this is a man that was fought by all manner of things, including systems, including government machinery, but God, through prayer, state capture, all those things were actually able to succeed. Madam Speaker, it gives us freedom as a country that a son of a pauper, a son from a village, even like myself, who started knowing my first mattress as a skin of a cow, can one day rise to become the President of Kenya. Madam Speaker, I want to also congratulate members for the first time who have been elected, just as myself, to be in this 13th Parliament, the people who were being referred in quotes as monos. Madam Speaker, we could be monos by here, but mentally we are not monos, and we cannot be taken for a ride. We have the power to debate, and we have the power to bring in legislation in this House that can actually change the country in a positive trajectory. Madam Speaker, to other senior colleagues, I also want to congratulate you because you utilized well CDF and it brought you back here. Teach us on how to also come back next time we face another election. Madam Speaker, on the President's speech, I want to say this government, the Kenya Kwanza government, has a bigger mandate across the political divide in this country. If you look at the last election, 39 counties, William Ruto got 25% in 39 counties. It means it has progressively moved from 30 counties in 2013, 34 counties, and now the election of this president is 39 counties. That means there is a broader mandate and acceptance across Kenya. And that is why, immediately after the results were done, and even the Supreme Court, Kenyans kept their cool and actually kept this country a breathing space to be able to transact business. Madam Speaker, on unity of purpose. Madam Speaker, we have one president. Once elected president, any other person, Madam Speaker, are subject to the president. And they will be able to transact business in a manner that is acceptable to all Kenyans, regardless of how they voted in the last elections. Similarly to myself, Madam Speaker, whether they voted for me or not, I will serve them justly because it was a competition. And once we have a winner, we should be able to treat all of them the same way without discrimination. Madam Speaker, even in these appointments of cabinet, the proposed nominees, you can look at it, there is a spread across Kenya, and it brings a lot of unity in our country. So I want to say that on the matter of what is called Fulisa, CRB, credit and access to credit for the people of Kenya, Madam Speaker, it's not enough. I want to congratulate the President for actually intervening. But it's not enough. I was doing research and realized that the Central Bank of United Arab Emirates base interest rate is given at 4.35 at maximum. Madam Speaker, I am looking forward to a country, this country, Kenya, when a borrower will borrow a loan at 3% per annum so that they will be able to do business. For a long time, this country, Kenyans have been working for banks instead of the banks working for the people of Kenya. I will be one of those members of parliament that will bring legislation to bring down interest rates charged for the Kenyans who are borrowing money to do business in Kenya so that we can be able to actually make profits and have businesses that can prosper and even reduce the taxes. Madam Speaker, in my place, my biggest town is called Kabarnet, and women go to Uganda to bring clothes. I wonder, a country called Uganda, which is landlocked, actually people going to buy goods and services from Uganda. Why? Because there are too much taxes in our country. We should look at a situation where we reduce taxes, including VAT, if we were able to reduce during the days of COVID. Why don't we reduce now that we are normal? We reduce the interest rates charged on VAT to 12%. So that Kenyans can be able to do business. The Asala Nation government talks about spreading the bottom taxes so that we have more. But we can also reduce. We can also reduce the VAT in this country. Even pay. Madam Speaker, just the other day when we were being served with pay slips, Madam Speaker, you see money being given in the right hand and taken on the left hand. Madam Speaker, as honorable members of this House, we must be able to look at legislation on taxes so that they don't become punitive for the people of Kenya. We must be able to reduce taxes so that we can actually attract investors to bring money to our country so that we can be able to do much more and develop as a country. Madam Speaker, I want to agree with His Excellency the President on the issue of agriculture, irrigation. Honorable members, if we don't secure food security for this country, if our stomachs are not sorted out, no matter things that we do, there is nothing that they can develop in this country. Let us first of all sort out the food security of our country so that we have food on the table and people can be able to work and be able to generate, and we can move to a middle income economy to even first world. So I agree that if we can pump water for irrigation so that we don't rely on rain-fed agriculture, we rely on irrigation. Madam Speaker, we shall change. And finally, Madam Speaker, because I've seen the lights and I have a lot for the country, is that, Madam Speaker, if we sort out education, school fees, and sort out food, and sort out health through universal health care, those three things, this country will change forever, because you will have sorted out the fundamentals that affect human life. Madam Speaker, I want to raise my case there and say, in the years to come, and in these years of Parliament, I will do more to reshape the direction of development in this country, in this Parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Now we'll have the member for Isiolo County, after which we'll have the member for Kilifi North, then the member for Naivasha. Now the member to make his intervention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This being the last afternoon to discuss the presidential address, I would kindly seek your indulgence to direct the House so as to reduce time allocated for each member to 5 minutes so that we can amply contribute to the presidential address. Inasmuch as we also know that we are yet to make our maiden speech, may I kindly implore on you to reduce the time for each member in contributing to 5 minutes, kindly.
I think given that debate had already begun, I think that can only happen, I think, if the House so agrees. So who was giving, there was another intervention by a member for Kajiado, I think, to respond to that, then we can close. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to second the honorable member that every member here want to get an opportunity to contribute on this speech of the president. So I do support. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, since it's not procedural to change the time in between the debate, I think that can be something that members can agree upon, and whoever gets the next opportunity just tries to make it as brief as they can. Some members have already done it. So I think we can now proceed. Member for Isiolo.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank Almighty Allah for his guidance and goodness that has seen me through all the hurdles in my journey to this House as people's representative. Madam Speaker, I also wish, in a special way, with so much humility, stand here to thank people of Isiolo for the honor, trust, and confidence they conferred on me by resoundingly electing me as their county woman MP against all odds. Madam Speaker, Isiolo people indeed demonstrated meaning of democracy in its truest form by electing me to 13th Parliament in an election that was intensely contested and strongly characterized by, sadly, not real issues affecting ordinary people, nor competencies on the part of candidates seeking leadership position, but narratives that were heavily informed by tribal, clan entitlements, endorsement, and formations that almost destroyed the social fabric on which Isiolo communities advance their well-being. Madam Speaker, as their representative, this day I proudly stand here to celebrate the resilience and determination showed by the ordinary people of Isiolo in maintaining peace and brotherhood in their grand march to the ballot, where they express their will through their votes as the ultimate decision makers. Madam Speaker, on this day, I make a solemn promise not to let them down, but to serve them diligently. Madam Speaker, now moving on to matters affecting Isiolo people and entire arid and semi-arid counties, I would like to make reference to the address by His Excellency the President on drought situation in our country, an intervention that made by governments so far. Madam Speaker, I wish to clearly state here that the situation on the ground has now moved from drought to famine. People are now dying of hunger. There's no water for human and livestock consumption. Madam Speaker, while we appreciate the food that was flagged off by His Excellency the President, I wish to state here, looking at how the situation is evolving, a lot more action needs to be undertaken urgently to save human lives and livelihoods. Madam Speaker, continuous food relief is needed from now up until 5 to 6 months after the rains. This is because even when it rains, hunger will persist up to when farmers can make the first harvest and animals can bounce back strong. Madam Speaker, I advise that in future food distribution be guided by number of households in a sub-location and the population in an area. I am saying this because, Madam Speaker, I'm sad to report to you, or to report to this House, that the consignment that was flagged off by His Excellency the President ended up at household level as just 1 kg of rice and 1 kg of beans, which, if you look at the situation on the ground, will not change anything if we are actually serious about addressing the situation. Madam Speaker, once again, in making reference to the President's address, His Excellency talked about climate change. He pointed out climate mitigation that included reducing emission of greenhouse to lessen the effects of climate change. While we appreciate that, what the President's speech missed out was the adaptation part of climate change. Madam Speaker, as we all know, the climate change effect is already upon us. We must find ways to cope with it, and this needs to happen at national and local level. So, as a country, we will continue experiencing effects of climate change in the foreseeable future, and it is important that we begin the journey on how we can cope with it. Madam Speaker, in this regard, for effective adaptation to take place, as a country, we need to invest and make use of climate information in all our planning and development decisions. It is not right that we always look surprised by failed rains and drought situation in our country, and as such, fail to take action in good time to save lives and livelihoods. Madam Speaker, still on address by the President, I was saddened by the fact that the address by His Excellency the President did touch on the security situation in my county and entire northern Kenya. Madam Speaker, for a very long time now, insecurity in northern Kenya, and specifically in Isiolo County, has become a matter of great concern. For example, Merti sub-county has now turned out to be a battlefield where militias from Wajir, Marsabit, and Samburu East walk in at will, kill, maim, and drive off herds belonging to the locals with so much impunity. Madam Speaker, lack of security has now made families displaced, schools closed down, government services to the people stopped, and strategic water points and grazing areas like a place called Matasaden, Yamicha, Nyachis, and Com abandoned altogether by locals, making Isiolo people more vulnerable to the biting drought situation, as they now lack access to key resources that was once their drought fallback areas. Madam Speaker, a week hardly ends without an attack from these neighbors. Over the last 3 years, we've buried countless number of people with no trace and hope of recovering the herds that has been stolen. Madam Speaker, to put the matter into correct perspective, in Isiolo County, the pastoralists and their herds survived severe drought situation only to get killed and their herds stolen by militias from either Wajir, Marsabit, Garissa, or Samburu East. Madam Speaker, this has gone on unabated for far too long, and as a matter of urgency, it is time the state moves in to look into underlying drivers of this conflict with the intention to address the matter decisively and restore back respect for people's lives and their properties as guaranteed in our Constitution. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to make an appeal to the government, non-governmental organizations, well-wishers, and all Kenyans to remember Kenyans who are now starving to death and come together in Kenyan spirit like we've always done to save the situation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Kilifi North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And first, I would like to congratulate you on your election as our Deputy Speaker. Congratulations and all the best in your new role. You have served this Parliament very well, especially when at the Committee of Delegation, and we saw your ability and commitment to work for the people of Kenya, a trait which I'm sure you will pick up and use it in your new role as you lead this Parliament. Madam Speaker, I'm happy this afternoon to thank first the people of Kilifi North for giving me a second opportunity to lead them and also to represent them in this House. And therefore, I would like to thank them for electing me despite the fact that I came from a very hostile party environment, but God was there and here we are. Thirdly, I would like to congratulate and to note with thanks the speech of the President, that the President spoke with passion, he spoke with commitment, and he also spoke with the heart of a man that is ready to take the challenge of leading this country to the next level. Madam Speaker, if you note the President's speech, he reiterated that this country and this democracy has come of age, and that he noted that for the first time we have 6 more women elected in this parliament, meaning therefore we have increased the number of women elected, and that gives us confidence that women leadership is on the rise. Exhibited even more, we now again having a deputy speaker in this parliament that's a woman, and I think that reiterates what the president is looking at. And personally, I look forward to having more women leaders come into this parliament so that we can look at the gender gap and bridge it. Madam Speaker, if you look at the elections again, as noted by the president, this time we had 39 counties that voted for the president, 39 counties, up from 34. What does that mean? This country is becoming more tolerant. Our democracy is becoming more mature. Our democracy is becoming, is taking shape, that we can vote in this country, not on the basis of our ethnicity, but on the basis of the ideas, on the basis of a national agenda. And people can cast their vote, can cast their vote on the basis of an agenda that has been put on the table. And the agenda that made people vote in this country was on the economic agenda. Everybody felt the economy was going down. Everybody understood we had to have a better idea on the economy. Every voter knew that it was the economy that was hurting most of us, and therefore they went to the vote and voted for one William Samoei Ruto because he had a better economic agenda than the other party. And therefore, I would like to tell Kenyans that however tough the economic times are, but we have better days ahead. These are just pangs that someone feels when giving birth, but we are looking at a better Kenya in terms of go to where Safaricom and other players were together, and he talked about the Fuliza. Today you saw him at the NSE talking about how to make the NSE, the National Stock Exchange, available to everybody. He is a president who is keen on serving the country and changing the economic fortunes of this country. Madam Speaker, this country cannot move forward unless and until we are accountable to the resources that are given to us. This parliament must put its foot down to look at accountability. We have had hemorrhage of resources. This country has lost a lot of money in the past regime through corruption, through dubious projects, through projects that were being done, not for the purpose of serving this country, but for the purpose of serving other people's pockets. We had the KEMSAs, we have roads in this country that are being built at a cost that is so astronomical that even baffles the engineers who designed them. Because somebody sitting at a table says, although the engineers tells him this road will cost us 10 million, but somebody says, no, make it 30 million. And that's the kind of wage bill, that's the kind of amount of money that we have had to spend that is unnecessary. And that's why I support the president when we say we can comfortably cut the budget of this country by 300 billion. We can comfortably do that. Because a lot of the projects that have been done in the past regimes have had exorbitant costs to it, costs that are necessary, costs that are being put not because the engineer said that is actually the right cost, but because somebody said we want to make money on this and therefore add the cost. And therefore, I want to tell Kenyans that this parliament, and I want to tell parliament, this parliament must stand. Even those of us who are in government, those who call ourselves in government, those in Kenya Kwanza, we must stand to hold this government accountable for every cent that we give it, so that Kenyans can have value for money, for the money that they have given us to budget for. Madam Speaker, one of the things that I would like to speak about, and which the President touched on, is about having confidence in our institutions, our independent institutions. IEBC, the judiciary. Immediately after the court ruling, people started lambasting the judiciary just because they lost a case, and you want to make the whole world know that we have the worst judiciary in this country. What about those international businessmen who are looking at coming into this country because they have confidence in the judiciary in this country? Time has come when you lose a case, dust your coat and go home and say, I have lost fairly, and you go, instead of lambasting the judiciary, And the judiciary now has had a bad name just because one person lost a petition. The IEBC has been vilified just because somebody lost an election. Fellow members of parliament, I would like us to build confidence in our institution. That's the only way to take the democracy of this country forward. And it is one of the things that the president noted. But more important, Madam Speaker, I would like to say that this country needs to come together. This country needs to come together. This election has pulled the ends of this country. But it is time that we brought this country together, and this parliament, this 13th parliament, could be the organ that will bring this country together. And it is one of the things that the president talked about. Fellow members, it is time that we preached peace, we preached cohesion, we preached togetherness, we preached unity. We brought this country together again so that the divide or the chaosm that has been brought about because of an election, we end it, bring this country together, we start working together as a nation, and we build a country that is cohesive. That is the only way we can take this country together. But as I congratulate you, Madam Speaker, and Speaker Wetangula, I would also want to thank Kenya Kwanza Brigade and also to thank the President for giving, for the first time, an opportunity to have a Speaker of the Senate that is from the coast. And this is something that I would like to say is commendable, and the people of the coast know that for the first time, this government has taken care of their interests. But as we move forward, there are things that must be taken care of. The issue of water, especially in Kilifi and in Ganze constituency, I would like the President to keep his promise that he will build dams there, big dams, to ensure that the people of Kilifi do not die again of hunger. I would also like to say that the question of landlessness or squatters at the coast needs to be brought to an end in this government. Madam Speaker, as I wind up my speech, I would like to ask fellow members of Parliament, as we move together in the 13th Parliament, let's move on a bipartisan agenda, on a bipartisan approach, so that we can heal this country and this country moves forward, and God bless Kenya. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, member for Naivasha. And I think you'll be followed by a member for Wajir, so that he doesn't come up here. And then a member for Kericho, and so on. Most of you will actually have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance. On the onset, I'll make it short because my kid brothers here tell me that their constituents are looking. They are on the television wanting to see them speak, so I'll make it very short. Madam Speaker, first and foremost is to congratulate you on nomination and election as the Deputy Speaker. Together with the Speaker, I know you are equal to the task. Madam Speaker, we have gone a long way. We have done a lot of work for our party, for our President. In fact, from the season of Inua Mama, and we have come a long way. But also, I would plead with our President to give positions to our fallen soldiers, the ladies who went around this country campaigning for this government. Madam Speaker, I wish to congratulate all the members who found themselves in this house from wherever, whichever route they used to come to this place. We know it was rigorous, it was difficult, so it is upon us to honor our people by working for them. I also want to applaud Kenyans for the way they conducted themselves during the elections. This is the most peaceful election that has happened in this country in a long time. So we all owe it to our Kenyans to applaud them as leaders because of what we did. Madam Speaker, the President spoke about many things, how he's prepared. What we know is that what he said is what he means, and this is what he wants to do for this country. This is what he went round promising Kenyans. We know he is a sober president, a hands-on, and very hardworking. So we know this is going to happen. I also wish to thank him for giving us a cabinet minister in Nakuru, which has not happened since independence. The first parliament had Mark Mwithaga as an assistant minister. We have had the Miroge Kariokis, the Koigi Wamweres, Gitahi Garoro, Rike Nyanjui, and myself. We have all been assistant ministers. For once, we have a minister in the name of Zach Njero, and we really thank him. On CDF, Madam Speaker, I was in the pioneer committee when this law was passed. It was brought by Engineer Morioki Karoe. I've been a wife of an MP who didn't have CDF, which also made me even hate politics, because I could see my husband sell a cow and say, give the money, donate the money to go, the whole lot, to go and build classes or for development. So this is the best thing that ever happened to this country. And it is all upon all of us to support so that CDF is aligned to the Constitution, because the many children we have taken to school. As we talk now, all the kids have been sent home. Many, many are home. They are coming to our houses, and you know, we just came from campaign, we cannot even have anything to give them. So this is one thing that we really must support. He talked about CBC in education. CBC, yes, that task force is very important, Madam Speaker, because I have gone to schools where you find actually mothers have come to school and they are knitting for their children. So you wonder, whose work is this? What the teacher is going to mark whose work? So really, it was important that this task force, because we say we don't want to scrap, but we want to get the best. About the hunger in this country, many people have said it should be declared a national disaster. Madam Speaker, there are families that are sleeping without food. This is something that as we wait for agriculture and fertilizer and everything to be lowered, let's address the hunger that is there. He talked about universal health care. I wish to thank the President for the nomination of women in the cabinet. This is the biggest we have had in this country. He promised 50%. Yes, it didn't happen, but at least we have gotten, I think we have gotten the biggest chunk in his government. I wish to congratulate the women, single constituency women, because this is the greatest also achievement. Madam Speaker, in the 8th Parliament, we had 8 women, which means there were only 2 elected at constituency because the others were nominated. In 9th Parliament, we were 18, which means it's only 12 that were elected. This time round, we are 29, and last Parliament, we were 23. So actually, we are catching up. You may find these gentlemen looking for the 1/3 if we go at this pace. Women, let us work hard so that we give Kenyans confidence that we can do it much better than our male colleagues. I support the President's speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Wajir North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Every speaker who had been given the floor had congratulated you and the Speaker. I know you have been inundated with so much congratulations, and I would wish to join them for being the Deputy Speaker and the Speaker himself, and that was a position well deserved. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the people of Wajir North are worth being celebrated. They elected me to Parliament in the 11th Parliament. sent me for a leave in the 12th Parliament and felt wise that I should be back to represent them in the 13th Parliament. So due to that, I say I'm grateful to them and shall remain indebted. Madam Speaker, fast forward to the presidential speech. I'm proud to have elected His Excellency the President. I come from an area that is majorly painted orange or red, and it wasn't easy to come with a win using a UDA ticket, facing 7 Azimio candidates against 1 Kenya Kwanza. It wasn't an easy battle. Luckily, I came out triumphant. Madam Speaker, the President's address was apt to the various issues facing the country. Of concern to me were issues of constitutionalism. His Excellency the President had sworn in 6 judges who had gone through the due process in their recruitment, as was done by the Judiciary Service Commission, and the only role left for the then President, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, was to swear the 6 judges. That wasn't done, and I'm happy my President, the newly elected President of Kenya, the 5th, had fidelity for the law and sworn the 6 judges accordingly. I'm also happy that in his address, he has affirmed that the judiciary fund shall be operationalized. That's a great move towards constitutionalism. He also emphasized the fact that the judiciary shall be cascading to the constituency level, taking justice to the people up to the constituency so that they can handle much needed justice by the locals in the grassroots communities, more so commercial and corruption cases. I was a bit taken aback when a former speaker had raised that the President did not address corruption issues. Actually, he made a bold undertaking that he will devolve the judiciary to the Constitution to make sure that cases regarding commercial and corruption cases are expedited accordingly. That came the first time in the history of the Republic. Madam Speaker, this President has brought hope to the rule of law by ensuring that the IG, the Inspector General, being the accounting officer as espoused in the Constitution, is fully implemented. That was a bold move that we expected him to do, and he did it in the first few days after taking office. One other issue the President addressed himself to is he implored the House to review the standing orders so that we can have the executive on the floor of this House and we can interrogate them on matters of policy and what they are doing towards service delivery. That is welcome, Madam Speaker. However, we should be a bit cautious on matters of separation of powers. Separation of powers is a thin thing and it is well needed. We must not confuse different arms of government. However, it is important that the previous position of this House is restored as it was when the question time was the most interesting times of debate in this Parliament. Further, Madam Speaker, the President talked on agriculture. He emphasized that it is important to handle matters of production than the soft approaches to levies and subsidies. I appreciate his move, and I feel that is the right way to go. He's talking of agriculture from an expert-oriented position. Madam Speaker, on matters business environment, Kenya is the first, if not the second, I guess, in Africa and in the world, the most unequal country. The GDP is in the hands of 8,300 people only, according to the latest statistics from Oxfam. 8,300 control, or rather own, 99% of the GDP of this country. the President has emphasized and promised that he will improve on the business environment to make sure that the inequality gap is reduced accordingly. Madam Speaker, further, he talked of issues of public-private partnership in regard to access to water, to increase access to water from 60% to 80%. That is a welcome move. Water is a basic thing in life we all need, more so in the rural communities and ourselves. Inasmuch as I appreciate his approach, emphasis or rather consideration is given to public or foreign investments that have the muscle, the bigger muscle. And what happened ordinarily is capital flight. Capital flight. I would urge the President to consider small-scale investors so that they can also go into the partnership and sell their water, deliver water, and get money. Otherwise, the approach in regard to public-private partnership is welcome. And that brings me to the Butte Megaban, which is a presidential flagship project he has been following for the last 10 years. I hope he will consider the Butte Megaban in Wajir North as part of the public-private partnership he promised. On universal health care, Madam Speaker, NHIF as it stands now carries the name insurance, but really does it operate like an insurance? It comes under the regulation and the supervision of Insurance Regulatory Authority as it is in our statutes. But every year it requests for a waiver so that it is not supervised like the private insurance companies. That is to tell you that it's always hiding behind the name insurance. It doesn't collect premiums. I actually appreciate the approach the President has taken to overhaul NHIF and rebrand it to make sure that it is a universal health caregiver. And finally, I can see the lights are on, Madam. The President emphasized on drought. Drought is ravaging Wajir North and other parts of Asals. I think we need to reconsider and relook our strategy to drought. We must bring on preparedness so that we can mitigate droughts before they are with us always. Otherwise, I appreciate and support the presidential speech. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Wajir North. I actually took you seriously when you said that you wanted the time limited to 5 minutes. Obviously, it did not apply to you, maybe to the other members. I now call upon the member for Kericho, Member 001 of the 13th Parliament. Kindly help her with the mic.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And first, I really want to thank God for enabling all of us to be here, and more importantly, for the elections that were peaceful, and that is why we are here today. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate you in a very special way for you being given that position of Deputy Speaker. Receive greetings from people of Kericho, and in particular, the many women who told me when you go to Parliament, say hi to Madam Sholei, and they also gave me another responsibility. With this fact in mind, Madam Speaker, during the 11th Parliament, when there was some fracas at the late, may her soul rest in peace, the late Laposo, she had water poured on her. So this time they told me before anything happens to Madam Speaker, be there for her. So I will always make sure that I'm on flat shoes in case there is anything so that we come to your defense, Madam Speaker. So, and secondly, I want to congratulate the Speaker, Honorable Wetangula, who is a seasoned politician. He deserves this position, having rose through the ranks, being in Parliament for all these years. So once more, congratulations to him. I want to thank the people of Kericho County who gave me the opportunity to come to Parliament. This is a dream that I had from so many years. I just remember when I was in class 6, we had a debate between class 6 and 7, and I was in class 6, and it was very simple. It was a motion of a teacher is better than a donkey driver. So that one, to me now, was on the side of the donkey driver. I didn't know what to say, but somehow the class 6 asked me to speak on their behalf, and by the end of the day, we got so many points. From there, I realized that I can be there at least to debate. So in particular, I want to thank the people of Kericho, just from what you've said, Madam Speaker. And being 001 in 13 Parliament is not a mean achievement. Though I'm not a ranking member, you will realize that coming to Parliament unopposed, it is by the grace of God, the favor of God, and more so the trust and the faith that the many people of Kericho County had and have in me. I promise that I will work hard. I promise that I will do my duty diligently as per the oath that I took to do the oversight role, legislation, Madam Speaker, and all the roles that are assigned to me. And in particular, today is International Day for Girl Child. And I believe, and knowingly or unknowingly, the Speaker gave you the opportunity to lead this day. I want to pray that all the girls and all the children and all the women in this country enjoy this day, as I dedicate even my speech to the many girls outside there, those who are in schools, to the many women also who are working very hard to support their families, to bring food on the table, the many who are working in the tea plantations, those who are working in the coffee plantations, those who are working even in the quarries, the many mamambokas and the like. I want to pray that as we dedicate this day and remember the girl child, Madam Speaker, what I pray is that we don't just support them with material issues. They also need to be encouraged so that they do more of innovation, being creative, and let them have space. And with that, I want to congratulate all the women who have been elected to this Parliament, which is a plus, and even His Excellency the President appreciated the same. And in line with that also, the 2/3 gender rule, when it comes to the nomination of the CSS, I want to appreciate and the President and say that he did his part, and I believe this House will pass, will actually come to uphold all the nominees for the position of the CSS. In particular, I also want to congratulate Honorable Florence Pore, who is my predecessor. I am here because that, and I became the woman representative, and now she got another position. I congratulate her, and I believe this House will actually uphold her position. So once more, Madam Speaker, I want to say that the many issues that women are passing through, we cannot even explain here, the gender-based violence. And in particular, we also look at the cases of suicide that is happening around the country and in Kericho in particular. We have so many of these women who go through many processes and many difficult situations, and I believe with this government, we're going to have even a place, rehabilitation center, where their issues can be listened to, and even counseling can be done. So I want to, in particular, say that as Beatrice Kemei, member for Kericho County, I am going to work very closely with all the arms of government, and in particular, the executive, and even this legislative house, Madam Speaker, so that we see that the women have their space. Coming to the speech of the President, Madam Speaker, I want to say that for me, undoubtedly, it is the best speech. The President, for that matter, I want to tell this House that some of us was saying the speech of the President was very short. But in his wisdom, one thing that I like from the President is that he actually applied what we call the miniskirt rule. And the rule says, short enough to cover the subject and long enough to maintain the interest. At the end of the speech, members were very excited. I repeat, the miniskirt rule says short enough to cover the subject and long enough to maintain the interest. So at the end of his speech, members were very excited. The interest was, but the subject was covered, and the interest was okay. So that is what I can say, and I appreciate that the speech of the president, because in particular he covered so many areas in his speech, the many pressing issues that affect Kenyans, and he actually gave us his roadmap towards implementation of the bottom-up economic model or approach. He highlighted the key steps in which the government intend to put full realization of his agenda. So, and as I said, he appreciated the women leadership. Secondly, he talked about agriculture, investing so much in agriculture, and in particular, reducing the cost of production. And this one is very important, so we will actually review the many legislation that will help us in issues to do with export and tax on agricultural products. Agriculture in Kericho County is key, not only in Kericho, but in Kenya. You will realize that, Madam Speaker, this is the main area that gives us economical improvement. I pray that we put more emphasis on the same, and we are not only concerned with the food security, we are also concerned with putting money in our pockets. So I appreciate that one. And in universal health care, I want to pray that, and I believe the president is concerned with being the health care being more effective, affordable, and efficient. I in particular appreciate, in his plan, he talked of diapers for maternity, in the side of maternity, diapers for women, for children, for the 3 months. And for this house, I was like, I think I should go for one more, because to appreciate the government for giving us 3 months to have diapers, Madam Speaker. So I will come, we discuss. I think you should also join me. We appreciate the government in supporting 3 months diapers. That one, it will help so many of our women to have children. So our health is our wealth, and this one will be good for us. In the issue of housing, it is very, very important that we have the land, and not only land, let's also have other enablers, so that this housing can be, at least can actually help so many of our people. And I see the lights are on, Madam Speaker, but I want to also add one more point, that the Hustler Fund, Madam Speaker, our people are waiting for that. They already have groups. We would want to see it done in the right way. The many, maybe what I can say, the department and the ministry that will take care of the Hustler Fund will have to do it so well, so that people will not miss on the same. Hustlers are waiting for it, and they are ready to be helped. This one will cover at least everybody else. It will help the Mamambokas, it will help all the Okas, and everybody that is concerned with this.
Member for Kwale County, and you'll be followed by member for Webuye. Seems the member for Kwale County is not here. We can have member for Webuye. Webuye West. Yeah. Yes, I know Honorable Investor Martin Wanyonyi. That's what the name says. Is that correct?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I'm honored to speak for the first time on the floor of this House on the behalf of the great people of Webuye East. Madam Speaker, first I also want to congratulate you, Madam Speaker, for your election as our Deputy Speaker. I also want to congratulate our Speaker, Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula, for his election as our Speaker of the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, I want to also congratulate my great people of Webuye East for the trust and the confidence they bestowed upon me as their third member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I was born from a very, very humble but hard-working family. A family that, Madam Speaker, trusted in my capability of also being somebody and also my possibility of pursuing my God-given dream. Madam Speaker, when I was born, I realized that I was blessed by two very important things. And one of those things, Madam Speaker, that I was blessed with is the fact that, Madam Speaker, I was born with this condition for albinism. Madam Speaker, when today you visit certain Mandera County or any other part of this country and you ask any child about the composition of Parliament, of the 13th Parliament, that child will tell you we have 348 members of the National Assembly and one Mzungu in that assembly, which, Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud of. Madam Speaker, I'm also proud and happy that God blessed me and I was born in the Republic of Kenya, a country, Madam Speaker, whose citizens believe that, Madam Speaker, that their rights are not given by their government, but they are given by their God. And it's the duty of the government to protect those rights, Madam Speaker. And that's why the Kenyan citizen, they can choose what they want, and they can be able to elect the leaders they want, Madam Speaker. And that's why today, even with my status and condition, I was elected as a member of Parliament. And that's why William Samoei Ruto, a chicken seller, was elected as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. Madam Speaker, even in the face of the system and the deep state and government opposition, he was elected. And I want to congratulate and also thank my Speaker because he led the team and the region that made the difference in who was elected as the president and who lost as president, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank him for that support and for the leadership he gave us. Madam Speaker, it's always said that to whom much is given, much is expected. I won in all the wards in my constituency. And Speaker, I know I'm inheriting a constituency that's still very young, that has been in existence for only 10 years under the 2010 Constitution. My people still are in need of infrastructure. The schools are still not doing well. There are many people who lost their families, who lost their, whose marriage broke up because of pen paper, because of the collapse of pen paper. Mr. Speaker, I just want to promise them that my experience as an MCA, being nominated in 2013, elected in 2017, now elected as a member of Parliament, which for me, Madam Speaker, is a true testimony that indeed what Kenya Kwanza stands for, the bottom up. I think I'm a true testimony of how bottom up can work. Being nominated, elected as an MCA, now a member of Parliament, and Speaker, I'm so sure the sky is the limit. And we'll panga manina pambele, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to assure my people that we are going to do whatever we can we are going to go out of our way to ensure that we realize every plan and every strategy and every manifesto that we promise them. And Madam Speaker, I want to just ask them for their support, to work with me in this journey so that we can be able together transform our constituency. Madam Speaker, on the President's speech, I just want from the onset thank the President, because through that speech, he was able to demonstrate that he doesn't believe in the quantity of things, but he believes in quality, in precisiveness, in unequivocalness. That's why his speech was precise, he was simple, and to the point, Madam Speaker. And Speaker, I also want to thank the President, because the former President believed so much in big things, in initiating big projects. But, of course, the former President, Uhuru Kenyatta, he believed in initiating big projects. But I'm happy with the current President, the Kenya Kwanza and fifth President. Madam Speaker, I want to thank him, because for him, he believes in very simple, few things, but things that are so important to the Republic of Kenya and to its citizens. And that's why today you can see in his speech, in his inaugural speech, he talked about the universal health care. He talked about the transformation of our agriculture.
Honorable members who are at the bar, at the bench here, kindly, it's amounting to harassment now. I can hear the conversations, harsh words that you're exchanging with the clerks. Yes. We still have 3 hours. Everybody who's on the list actually will get a chance. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't know why, I don't know whether they are doing that because it's me speaking, Madam Speaker, but Madam Speaker, I just want to continue by saying that I thank the President for his speech, his belief in very few, simple, but important things to the people of Kenya. The transformation of agriculture, the achievement and the implementation of universal health care, the housing program, all that, Madam Speaker, all of them being conceived within Article 43 of our Constitution. And Madam Speaker, Article 43 on economic and social rights it's so critical, Madam Speaker. It forms part of the centrality of our Constitution, Madam Speaker. But I think for 10 years, we've not done well in terms of actualizing this particular article of our Constitution. So, Madam Speaker, I want to just thank the President for his commitment to ensure that Article 10, or Article 43 of our Constitution is actually achieved and it's made alive and true to the citizen of the Republic of Kenya. And Speaker, I also want to thank him in his speech on the issue of having the cabinet secretaries appear before Parliament and answer questions directly. And Speaker, I know we have issues around that. There are members who have raised concerns. But Speaker, just want to say that, yes, we are a presidential system. We are having a presidential system. But any democracy, we have never had a democracy that's absolute. Now, Speaker, we need this cabinet secretary to appear before us so that they can conclusively answer the questions of members of Parliament and speak to the people of Kenya directly. Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity.
Member for Kitutu Churches South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, let me first start by congratulating you and our Speaker for the election to lead us in this National Assembly. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the members elected in here and those that are nominated. I take this opportunity to congratulate my president and his deputy on their election. Mine is a unique story, a story of sheer resilience, determination, and relentlessness. My story should inspire young people of this country, young people of this great country, that just like Eliud Kipchoge says, no human is limited. We should never give up. I started while in campus in 2007, ran in 2013. In 2017, I came close, and without losing enthusiasm, in 2022, I got elected overwhelmingly by the people of Kitutu Chache South. I take this opportunity to thank the wonderful people of Kitutu Chache South for electing me to serve them. Of course, I thank Team Kibagendi, the people who are running this campaign, and hope we get to continue working together. The president gave a short and inspiring speech. I particularly appreciate the focus that he wants to work towards lowering the cost of living, and of course, aligning national government CDF with the Constitution, since this fund has been life-changing, especially on matters to do with education and security in the countryside. Even on matters to do with CRB, I've been a victim of being denied a loan because of a small default I had with a mobile loan, and that really injured my standing in society. Madam Speaker, I would also like to bring to your attention that while the President spoke very well about matters to do with food security and focus on agriculture, and the various other things like focus on universal health care, I would like to bring to the attention of this House that Kitutu Chache South is the only constituency in the larger Gusii region that has no inch of tarmac other than the highway going to Kisumu. So we are hoping we will also be considered this time. Madam Speaker, I wish to also appreciate the former Member of Parliament, Honorable Richard Onyonka, and the constituency fund manager, Mr. Kimtai, for the wonderful job they did. We have we have wonderful projects that have been done by the CDF. I wish the honorable member for Garissa Town stayed on longer. He's an excellent debater, and I wish he was here with us. He would turn down the opportunity to serve as a CS and be here with us in the House so that he can help us in checking the executive, because he does a very good job. And even today, he really pushed our party chairman that he needs to buy a TV and watch how President Ruto will do his work. I served as an advisor to our president while he was deputy president, and I have no doubt that he will do a wonderful job with the opportunity that has been given to him. Madam Speaker, I hope that the opposition this time round will be objective and focus on its role, not like what we witnessed in the past 5 years, where we didn't seem to have a proper opposition that was checking the excesses of the executive. And I also hope the executive will focus on its mandate and not open aggressive politics like we saw in the past, and failing to honor especially court orders. Finally, I hope the president and his cabinet will instill discipline, especially in the civil service. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, and again thank the people of Kitutu Chache South for giving me the opportunity to serve them. Thank you.
Member for Baringo County, and honorable members, nearly all of you are here, are all going to get an opportunity. So I think if we're just patient with the clerks, we will get to you, because we still have until 8. Thank you.
Thank you. To congratulate you and the right Honorable Speaker for the election that we did in the House. I also want to congratulate our President, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, a man of his words, the President of Kenya, who is ready to serve, dedicated man of God too, and I am assuring all of you that I am going to give you the unconditional support going forward. Madam Speaker, I was privileged to be part of Kenya Kwanza as an elected member now. I also participated through the campaigns, and I must say, through the speech of the President, he was speaking rightly on what we have always been talking about during our campaigns. Especially, for me, what I captured most is the issue, apart from many other things, issue of social security. Madam Speaker, as you are aware that this country is so much indebted on the foreign debts. And what the President was actually saying was, we need as a country to come forward, help one another by saving and use our savings through borrowings from our savings so that we can enable ourselves as Kenyans. Through infrastructure, building schools, we can borrow from ourselves. And this way, he give us, if you go through his speech, he is clarifying that Social Security in Kenya, especially the NSSF, is so much undermined because of the mode of saving. And is encouraging all of us to save more, especially the format that they are using now, that the people who are actually keenly saving are the one on the formal employment, meaning the civil service. We have many other Kenyans, young generation, people who have never gone to school, people who have not gone to school but never been employed in government, but they are working every day, they are hustling, and these are the people who are supposed to be encouraged to save and give an opportunity of growth in this country. He also talked about the innovations in this country through the technology of today. I am very much aware that all of us here, as members of parliament, are technically savvy. By one way or another, we are always exposed to electronics, and the President has encouraged through his speech that we be innovative enough and encourage the young generation to be part of innovations by marketing their products and doing as much as possible to market and help this country going forward through the technology, because technology is here with us forever. Because of time, Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate also that I was a bit disappointed by the speech of the President when he didn't mention the matters of insecurity. I come from Baringo, and as a daughter of Baringo, I have witnessed and I've gone through a lot of problems on these issues of insecurity. Insecurity in the Kerio Valley Belt is mainly associated with the cattle rustling and banditry that has destroyed families, wealth. People are becoming so poor because this is a matter that has been there from ages but has never been tackled and eradicated fully. And I want to say, I expected the President to be so keen and give us a direction, because his speech was on state of the nation. As I speak to you, Madam Speaker, as I give my speech today, I want to tell this august house that banditry has really and has been one of the menace that has claimed, especially apart from the people of Kenya, the police and the men in uniform, people who have been, we have given them opportunity to take care of our lives and our property. That in the last 2 weeks, when it was actually a week after the president, before the president gave this speech, we lost several policemen and women and people through a raid that occurred in Lokori, in Turkana. And I would read the names of the policemen. Unfortunately, their names were not even mentioned when all this matter and the president was in the house. If you think cattle rustling is happening only in Baringo, it is affecting everyone in Kenya. We have William Karimi, Alex Wambua, John Kisoi, Boniface Mutiso, Edwin Omari, Eric Rugut, Brian Macharia, Agustin Ndiema, and we also lost our dear sister, Mary Kanyaman, who is a biochemist, one of the learned daughter of the soil of Turkana. We also have others who are injured, like Rafael Gituro and Peter Nganga. Madam Speaker, this is something that we cannot wish away. And I want to pray, going forward, as a member of parliament, I am going to do and bring forward laws and bills that is going to support us eradicate this matter. Why am I so much affected with this thing? Because I come from Baringo where it is adversely affected. And I come from Baringo also where banditry is manufactured in one of the constituencies called Tiati. I am speaking because as a member of Baringo County, I have the prerogative and I have the authority to mention it here in the floor so that we are able to solve this problem right from the source. As I speak to you, Madam Speaker, killings, displacement of people, innocent children. Like I just came from Baringo on Saturday, burying one gallant soldier serving as a GSU in Barwesa Ward. And one thing, Madam Speaker, is it's not about the burying and because of the bandits' killings. It is what we leave behind. I watch when we were burying this son of Kuikui in Barwesa, his children, the wife who is barely 20-something years, and the son who was there watching keenly with a lot of somber mood when his father was being buried. He didn't move. All of us were there. Everyone was, even when they were shooting they were doing the saluting of the gun. This young boy was just there staring on his father's coffin. It's not the bandits. It's about the people we leave behind. We lack the psychosocial support. The families that are left very poor, very dejected. They don't know where else to go, especially those who are displaced. They don't know what to do next. And at the end of the day, looks like it is business as usual in this government and in this Kenya, that people are being killed and no one discusses afterwards. We just go and bury them. I want to hide this floor, this parliament, with the help of all of the members here. Kindly, let us work forward to enable other Kenyans, especially in Baringo and Kerio Valley belt, to have the same peace like any other person in this country. I finish, Madam Speaker, by saying this is our world and this is Kenya today. I am not speaking on behalf of the people of Baringo alone, but a generation that I speak for them today and the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Baringo. Member for Kisumu Central. Central is not here. Member for Starehe constituency. Member for Mathare.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And from the very onset, allow me to join fellow members who have congratulated you on your election as Speaker. I have no doubt that yourself and the Speaker, both distinguished lawyers and jurists, will be able to take this House to a height further than where you found it. I want to state from the very onset that I am a student of Madam Speaker, a lawyer by profession, and if I have turned out to be a poor lawyer or a good lawyer, she would be responsible for it, but I'm sure that it is the latter. In my final year of school, I was among the top 10 students whom she took to Washington, D.C., to the Philip C. Jessup International Moot Court Competition, and I am happy that we did a good job under her leadership and her stewardship. I have been in the 12th Parliament, and I have seen Madam Speaker, the zeal and the industry she puts in the committee she was in, especially the Committee on Delegated Legislation, and I am sure that if she translates this to the House, we are so much the better. So I congratulate you, Madam Speaker, as I also congratulate the Speaker. This is my second term, but it is the third attempt at being a member of Parliament, and way back in 2013, when I was still trying to cut my political teeth in the same constituency, the Honorable Speaker Moses Wetangula was gracious enough to call me and gave me my first direct ticket as a member of Ford Kenya Party. I returned it with 8,000 votes, and I am eternally grateful for that opportunity. I want to also thank the people of Mathare constituency for electing me for a second time to represent them in a very diverse constituency, one that is actually the face of Kenya. You come to Mathare constituency, you will find every conceivable tribe in there. And if you think that you would be elected in Mathare by your tribal majority or numeracy, you would be shocked, because if I were to benchmark it against my tribe, I am actually number 3 in terms of numerical numbers, and I don't take it for granted. Secondly, there is a slang word where they say in Mathare that hapa unaosha unanawa mara moja. And so if you were to translate it, it simply means that you wash your hands once, and literally every member of Parliament before me has served only one term and exited. So I want to thank them. I will take my work seriously and diligently. We laid the foundation in the first term, and I will do everything possible to ensure that the trust and confidence that you have bestowed on me as the people of Mathare shall not be disappointed. Lastly, on that issue, before I go to the speech, I want to thank my family for constantly and steadfastly standing behind me throughout this campaign and the previous ones. I thank them. I want to go now to the speech of the President, and I wanted to paraphrase the SCAT principle that was alluded to by the member for Kericho. My law professor, another professor, not the current speaker, used to say, and I paraphrase what he used to say, that a lady's cat, a good answer to a question, when he used to tell us, how do you answer a question when you're faced with an exam paper, and he used to say, a good answer to a question is like a lady's skirt. It is short enough to excite and long enough to cover the substance. Well, the jury is still out as to whether the speech of the President excited the base enough, and I mean here the base based on the election promises that were made under the Kenya Kwanza plan. And the jury is still out, in my view, as to whether it was long enough to cover the substance. And listening to a number of members, quite some ground was covered, but there are other issues also that were not quite well covered. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I wanted to speak to the question of the tone. The tone of the speech, in my view, was moderate, and this was an opportunity for the President to try and bring together the more than 6.9 million Kenyans who still felt aggrieved for one reason or the other, or who didn't vote for him. However, to my disappointment, looking at paragraph 11, and if I was to quickly grin through what the president was saying, it amounted to a trolling of his chief opponent, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and he was saying in this paragraph that only in Kenya do you find that a sitting deputy president becomes the candidate of the opposition, and the opposition leader becomes the candidate of the government, and that the candidate of the opposition became the president. And I thought this was an opportunity not to try to rub salt on the 6.9 million people who at his inauguration he clearly stated, I will be president for you, whether you voted for me or you didn't vote for me. And I thought this was an opportunity then to try and rally everybody together, both the 7 million who voted and those who didn't vote. And I should hope that going forward, the presidential speeches, including the ones that I witnessed at the burial of the brother to the deputy president, where some of our members still seem to be in election mode, trying to pull back the former president into this and trying to rub salt in a manner that suggests that while the people who have lost have moved on and are trying to heal, those who are the victors apparently seem to find pleasure in trying to bring those people back and to rub the salt. And I think that is something that going forward I hope the president will be able to correct. Madam Speaker, the first point that I noted which I want to speak to is on the question of oversight. The president has indicated, I think in his paragraph 16 of that speech, that he will try to ensure that the institutions work and that Parliament provides oversight, and also that members of cabinet are here to answer questions as part of enhancing that oversight. Madam Speaker, I'd like to go back to his paragraph 12, 11, and paraphrase it here and say that only in Kenya do we have a sitting deputy elected as president and opposition leader being the candidate of the government, and that opposition candidate being elected president. But it is also true that it is only in Kenya where an elected president in his first 30 days makes it his business to implement one of the main campaign platforms and policies of the opposition leader. And I want to thank him for this, because when he says that he wants to bring in cabinet minister to Parliament, isn't this the BBI that was shot down by the current president and their team? This is an attempt at implementing piecemeal some of what we proposed in the BBI. Madam Speaker, I also want to speak to the question of the independence of the judiciary. I was in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee as well as the Committee of Implementation of the Constitution the last time, and I support the President in terms of the Judiciary Fund, which he has promised that would be put in place. I also want to thank him that within the first few days, he swore in the judges who had not been sworn in. Those are good gestures, but I want to pose this question as to whether behind those good gestures there is an attempt to do what you call capture of the judiciary in the same manner that we complain about executive capture. Both are wrong. If the judiciary goes to bed with the executive, the judiciary, and these I would quote from Alexander Hamilton, who once said, I think in his treatise of 1889, that while the executive holds the sword and dispenses honors, and the Parliament holds the purse strings, the judiciary dispenses justice. That is the last vanguard, the last place where members of the public would go if they were offended, and it would be a big disservice to the people of Kenya if the judiciary, in the attempt to give back at what the executive has extended to them, went to bed with the judiciary. Madam Speaker, I see that my time has run shorter than the 10 minutes that allowed.
Your time is up, Wakili. The Honorable Richard Yegon, Bomet East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. As this being my maiden speech, first of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for granting me this opportunity to make my maiden speech as the United Democratic Alliance Party Member of Parliament for Bomet East constituency. I wish to take this earliest opportunity, like my colleagues who have spoken already, to congratulate you for being elected the Speaker of this National Assembly, and also the Deputy Speaker, Gladys Pocholet. And the same goes to my colleagues who have made it to this Parliament, the 13th Parliament. For me, it has been a long and winding journey to be here, having twice attempted to secure the party ticket for the final run in vain. Mr. Speaker, in this year's UDA party primaries and the subsequent general election, God and the voters were on my side. In what I take as a payback for consistency and persistence to over leadership in this great constituency, to my immediate and extended family members and friends who stood by me through a very difficult time, my campaign team that went extra mile to deliver the win, I'm forever indebted to you. Many thanks and respect goes to the voters, the youths, and the elderly who woke up at dawn, braved the chill, the scorching sun, and long queues to cast their votes, waiting for hours on end as the votes were counted, tallied by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, clerks, and finally announced by the returning officer as they believe in my cause and ensure we won. I would not let you down. To those who opposed my candidature and my competitors, former area MPs, the Kanu Secretary General, Mr. Nick Salat, Dr. John Kalia of CCM, Chama cha Mashinani Party, you are worthy competitors. We all engage in issue-based politics, devoid of tricks and character assassination, and true to all tenets of multi-party democracy. The best candidate won. I wish to reiterate that it is time for us as the people to tweak the coin in the way we operate, in identification and implementation of development projects to the benefits of the residents. I'm looking forward to working with the national and the county governments, all stakeholders, donors, and residents in finding a lasting solution to the socio-economic challenges facing the constituency. There are little footprints of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee administration development records in Bomet East constituency, as it can only be remembered for the stalled upgrade to bitumen standard of the 75-kilometer Tenwek Merigi Tegat Chamaner Kimuchul Mateja and Chamaner Kembu Longisa Kibreres Kabaruso Kembu Kaibeot Mulot roads. Hardly 1 kilometer was constructed before the funding of the project was withdrawn a year ago for what is believed to have been a move by the then powers to punish the residents of their political affiliations. I'm confident that the Kenya Kwanza government, with the able leadership of President William Ruto, will prioritize the completion of the projects which was starved of funds along the Longisa-Kibreres-Sigor road, whose tender were awarded, but construction is yet to take off. Even before being elected, I was a matter on record able to channel my own resources towards improving the 17-kilometer Tegat-Jemaner Kemp Road in response to the numerous appeals from the residents in what was only a stopgap measure. I'm a firm believer in the saying by Booker Washington that the ear of a leader must ring with the voice of the people. Residents of the region are in the long term looking forward to the upgrade of a number of roads to bitumen standard, including Kapkeshego Pugacha, Kiramwok, Sabaret, Kibiosi Tegat Road. The Mulot Mengi Toronik Breres, the youth farmers, Jeboin Merigi, youth farmers, Kongotik Chep Kitwal, and also Legimbo, Jeboin, Chep Kolon, and Jerian roads are on which we should prioritize. Despite the fact that water is the key enabler in the phases of development, Bometis, which is highly agriculturally endowed, has eventually been faced with acute shortage of precious commodity. Water shortage, both for domestic use and irrigation, affects all the 5 wards, Kembu, Merigi, Chamader, Longisa, and Kibreres in the constituency. I wish to thank the African Development Bank to funding the ongoing extension of the water pipelines to Longisa Mulot Trading Centers in a bid to ease the acute shortage of the precious commodity. As a long-term solution, I'm appealing to the national government under the Kenya Kwanza Coalition to fast-track the implementation of Kibusto Water Project in Jemaner Ward. The project identified in the early 1980s as the potential of supplying the water by gravity to a larger part of Bomet East constituency and highly cost-effective. It's highly cost-effective. To spur economic growth and to improve the people's livelihood, I will be engaging the National Connect Electricity to households that have been there. They are structured wired under the last mile connectivity to power is yet to switch on, even as we push for new lines to be rolled out. I'm glad that in response to the concerns raised by the people, the President has set up a task force to review the competency-based curriculum, that is CBC education system, which will identify schools to be made centers of excellence and in the consistency, so we can rally donors towards the construction of and equipping them to accommodate bright but needy students. With agriculture being the driving engine of Kenyan economy, it is noteworthy that the growing tea by small-scale farmers and dairy farming are the main source of livelihood for the resident following the collapse of the maize sector due to the maize lethal cirrhosis disease that was for more than 15 years the negative impact on food security in the region. But the uptake of the avocados farming as a subsistence and commercial scale has steadily risen in the last 4 years, and we will work with the stakeholders to construct a backhouse for farmers to sell the produce and export or fetch higher prices. The recent government to move to set up the Information Technology ICT Center in Mulot area specifically as a software development hub in the country is highly appreciated and welcome move that will go a long way in demonstrating that there is a huge potential for the rural areas to drive Kenyans' industrial growth. Those of us, men and women, who are now in the House are looking up to you and the House leadership to guide, for guidance as we learn the ropes of legislation, which the voters have sent us to have and do.
Thank you, Honorable Member. And Honorable Members, I know we cannot vote on the reduction of time, but with consensus, I see we have about 83 requests. Today is the last allotted day. And if you agree, we can have 5 minutes per member, so that we can have as many of you as we possibly can to make your speeches on this presidential address. Is that agreeable? Yes. Excellent. And if you make your point in under 5 minutes, you'll even be more appreciated. Joseph Kahangara. 5 minutes. If you can make it in less, excellent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'll try to make it as short as possible to enable other members to make their contribution. Mr. Speaker, this being my first time to speak in the 13th Parliament, I will take this opportunity first to thank the Almighty God for giving me favor among the people of Lari, and they found me fit to represent them in the 13th Parliament for the second time. I want to thank the people of Kenale, Nyandoma, Kamboro wards, Kijabi, and Lari Kerenga, who voted for me overwhelmingly on the 9th of August to be the Member of Parliament. I also want to thank my family, led by my wife, the entire team that worked tirelessly to ensure that I was elected. I'll remain forever indebted to them for the work that they did for me. Mr. Speaker, as I talk to the people of Lari, let me also take this opportunity to condemn acts of arson that are taking place in our area. We have had 2 schools burnt in as many weeks. We want to urge the teachers and the administration to work together to ensure that our schools remain safe. A lot of effort and resources have been put together by parents to put up the schools, and when they go up in smoke, it is very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. As I go to the presidential address, let me say that we saw our UDA Kenya Kwanza candidate, His Excellency the President, going around this country into every corner, every county, collecting views from Kenyans, asking them what they would expect him to do when he gets into government. And Mr. Speaker, our candidate came up with what we call the plan, and the plan is not what is now what he came up with when he came and gave his speech here on what he's going to do for Kenyans. Let me just pick out a few issues that affect my people in Lari, and one of them is that I come from a rural constituency where over 90% of my people depend on agriculture. His Excellency the President talked about value addition, and in our area, whenever we produce in excess, we find that most of our products go to waste because the market is saturated. And when the President now talked about value addition, it means that we can be able to keep our products longer, we can be able to export the same, and we can be able to earn more money and create employment for our people. The other main challenge that we face in that area towards agriculture is that sometimes we are unable to get our products into the market because of poor infrastructure. It is my hope that the ongoing projects, and especially the Mau roads, the current government will be able to take up and ensure that these projects are completed, bring up more projects so that our people will be able to get their produce to the market. Mr. Speaker, on the same, the President talked about the reduction of the price of fertilizer from 6,500 to 3,500. We have already seen that some of this product has been taken to the people. But may I say at this juncture that the people of Kiambu, we only have some store in Thika, where we have the National Produce Produce Board storage, and people from Lari will not be able to go there. We are asking the county government to ensure that they devolve the same so that the product can be taken to every sub-county. Among other things, the president was able to speak on the issue of CDF. As another member said, we are having people now coming to us asking for bursary, which is we do not have. And of course, the president said that he has been able to serve one as a member when there was CDF, as a member when there was no CDF, and he knows what it means. We are happy that now we have goodwill from the executive. Let's get CDF back so that it can be able to serve our people better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Women Rep Mombasa.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Kwa majina ni Zamzam Chimba Muhammad, na ningependa kuchukua fursa hii kuweza kuwashukuru wakazi wa Mombasa walionipa kura zao kwa heshima na taadhima. Niweze kuwapongeza sana, na niweze kumpongeza pia kinara wangu wa chama, kiongozi wangu Bwana Raila Amolo Odinga, kwa kuweza kuamini wanawake na kutupa nafasi mwafaka, na pia mwisho tulikuwa hatujui tushike wapi, akaweza kutusaidia tukafunga kazi na kupata ushindi. Ningependa pia kumshukuru familia yangu yote walionishika na kuniombea dua. Mpaka sasa niko hapa, na niweze kuambia wakazi wa Mombasa kuwa nitawafanyia kazi, nitahakikisha mtoto wa kike anapewa heshima katika jamii. Nitahakikisha mtoto wa kike anapata nafasi ya pili ya kuweza kupata elimu na kuweza kuondoa tamaduni ambazo ni potofu. Katika usemi wa rais aliotangulia kusema, ningependa kwanza kupongeza sana kwa kuturegeshea poti yetu ya Mombasa, lakini pia nina wasiwasi kwa kuwa tetesi zimetoka nyingi kuwa ile port title deeds yetu. Mimi ningependa kumwambia mtukufu rais kuwa kwa hisani yako, kwa heshima na taadhima, uweze kufuatilia kuwa wakazi wa Mombasa tusiwe sisi ni wa kutolewa kafara poti yetu iweze kwenda. Hapana. Wakenya wote wachangie jambo hili, tuchangie pesa hizi tunazodaiwa na Mchina ziweze kulipwa na Wakenya wote. Ningependa pia kumwambia rais kuwa our natural resources, rasilimali zetu kama wakazi wa pwani, kama vile korosho, kama vile madini na mambo mengi, ningependa kuweza kumshawishi na kumwelezea kuwa aturahisishie Dongo Kundu iweze kufunguliwa mapema, tuweze kupata ajira na kuweza kufungua viwanda ambavyo vitaleta ajira kwa vijana wetu wa Mombasa. Wengi wamepotea katika mihadarati, wengine wanachukuliwa na ushawishi mkubwa kwenye mambo ya Al-Shabaab kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa ajira. Kwa hiyo namuomba rais pia aweze kuangalia kutufungulia viwanda. Kenya Meat Commission ilikufa na kuna sehemu zingine tuona zafanya kazi, lakini Mombasa haijafufuliwa. Tuangalie kiwanda cha korosho, tuangalie viwanda vya miwa, tuangalie viwanda vya Kenya Biksa, vyote vifunguliwe ili wakaazi wa Mombasa na pwani nzima waweze kupata ajira na kuuza rasilimali zao. Nikirudi kuzungumza mambo ya afya, sote tunaelewa kuwa NHIF ililetwa ili kuboresha na kufanya wepesi wa watu kupata huduma ya afya, lakini wengi wakienda kwenye mahospitali wanaambiwa kuwa ni pesa ya kitanda, hakuna dawa, hakuna huduma zingine ambazo wanafanyiwa. Wazee wengi wamelalamika sana. Kwa hiyo angalie hali katika NHIF tuweze kupata huduma ambayo weza kupata kutibu maradhi mengi mazito. Kisha nikiangalia mgao wetu wa ngafu, Kama kina mama wa kaunti 47, mgao wetu uko chini sana. Kulinganisha na kuwa sisi tufanya siasa kaunti nzima ama gatuzi zima, tunapata mgao mdogo sana. Na ndio maana wengi unapata hawarudi bungeni. Kwa hiyo ningependa kumwomba rais aweze kuangalia kila atakapoangalia kwenye CDF na yale mengine ya kaunti, na sisi wanawake katika ngavu atuangalie hali zetu tuweze kupata mgao ambao utaweza kutusaidia. Nikirudi upande wa migration, watoto wetu wa pwani na hasa Waislamu wanahangaishwa sana kila pembe. Kupata kitambulisho cha Kenya imekuwa ni donda sugu. Imekuwa naulizwa paka birth certificate ya vilembwa na vilembwekeza, wakati ambapo ni watoto ambao wamezaliwa Kenya, wamezaliwa katika hospitali zetu na wanajulikana. Ningeomba rais angalie hili kwa Waislamu ili tusiweze kupata matatizo katika kupata huduma kwenye pasipoti na ID. Ningependa pia.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Member for Kitutu Masaba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations in your election to be the Speaker of this House. I would like to thank the members of Kitutu Masaba for having elected me to be their representative in this House in the 13th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I will go straight to the President's speech. I will look into the matters that mainly touch on my people. Firstly, agriculture. Mr. Speaker, the President and the new administration did release fertilizers that are cheaper than the previous months. This, however, Mr. Speaker, does not favor all members or all citizens of this country, because not every farmer grows crops. Personally, Mr. Speaker, I'm a poultry keeper. The cost of feeds in this country is simply unaffordable. It is no longer cheap to keep any animal, and therefore we get very stiff competition from imported goods and products of animals. Mr. Speaker, would like to urge the new administration, while looking at agricultural inputs, also to consider animal feeds. Infrastructure. This country, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about infrastructure, we do realize that there is no balance. Mr. Speaker, infrastructure does not only relate to Nairobi and the surrounding environs. I come from a constituency where road coverage is at a dismal level. We urge that this new government ensures that there is balance, that all of us, all citizens, that the people of Kitutu Masaba can have their roads done and they feel to be part of this nation. For example, we do have 2 contracts in my constituency, the RWC 586, which is a road meant to cover Gekano, Nyangori, Rigoma, and Amabuko. Also, that contract covers Gekano, Girango, Moturumesi, and Manga Motemomwamo. Mr. Speaker, you'll be surprised to know that with 67% of the time covered for that contract, only 5% of the work has been done. Yet my people keep suffering, and nobody addresses this issue. We have another contract, RWC 485, Kemera, Kiendege, Gachuba, Keumbo. This contract, Mr. Speaker, is 37 months behind schedule. There is no contractor on site. There is no equipment on site. Yet, my people expect to feel to be part of this country. Mr. Speaker, on the President's speech, there was not very much touching on education. Education is the equalizer for all of us. I am a son of a watchman, and I am here today because of education. We need to put more effort on TVET colleges, put more resources in the TVET institutions and polytechnic, so that our youths have a place to learn handicraft and any other skill that can help them be of importance to this country. Mr. Speaker, as we have a country of hustlers led by the chief hustler himself, we need to get more skills for our youths so that they fit in the society. The Uwezo Fund and the Hustler Fund. These should be looked into a way that they are complemented and merged to work together so that we don't have too many things, duplications, that end up not serving the intended goal. Mr. Speaker, on NSSF, the President, whoever put that paragraph in his speech, I think should be called to order. It was a very casual statement whereby it was said it's 200 times 12 times 30, yet NSSF is a fund where trustees are earning millions of shillings and are meant to invest that money for the people. In this House, we should not be discussing the change of the contribution, but instead to discuss the management of NSSF and the people put to task to ensure that they deliver their responsibility to the people of Kenya. I would like to thank members of my constituency, and I look forward to serving you in the next 5 years. In this House, congratulations.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Member for Bura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute and make my first maiden speech. I want to take this earliest opportunity to thank God Almighty for giving me this opportunity today to represent the great people of Bura constituency in this 13th Parliament. Secondly, I want to thank my parents and family, my dear wife, who really prayed for me and supported me throughout this journey. I also want, thirdly, to thank my employers, the great people of Bura constituency, who have shown confidence in me by giving me a landslide win against all other opponents. My great people of Bura constituency, I really want to assure them that I will serve them with purpose, I will serve them with dedication, and I will ensure that they get what they intended to get when they elected me to this august house. I want to specifically thank my team in Bangali Ward, my team in Dogo Ward, my team in Sala and Chewele and Hermani Ward for the dedication they have done. Fast forward, Mr. Speaker, sir, indeed it's a dream come true for me to be contributing today in this august house. My election to this august house is a true testament that indeed no human is limited and all dreams are valid, and if you dream and pursue your dreams with dedication and purpose, you will achieve. My employers have sent me here, Mr. Speaker, sir, to use all avenues, all premiums available to air their concerns and their grievances. Because of, we have been given only 5 minutes, let me rush through the challenges within my constituency. The major issue about my constituency, the biggest challenge is the issue of drought facing all the arid and semi-arid lands. In my ward of Bangali Ward today, a 20-liter jerrycan of water goes for 80 shillings. If you quickly do your math, it is 1 liter, 4 shillings per 1 liter for this vital commodity. We do water tracking from as far as Garissa, which is 90 kilometers away from Bangali Ward. Today, I'm happy to report that I got a well-wisher who helped me with a 35,000 liters capacity water truck with a 35,000 water capacity that is of great help to the people of Bangali Ward and the people of Sala Ward, which is the worst hit area. The second biggest challenge, and in this challenge of water, I want to take this opportunity to urge the government through the Ministry of Water to come in hand to help alleviate this problem. The second issue is about the identity cards. As we know, this is a very important document. And Mr. Speaker, sir, there's even a student who secured a scholarship to go and pursue further studies in Turkey, who was not able to go because of lack of this vital document. The issue of access to quality education is the last one I want to highlight because of lack of time. We have 13 secondary schools in Bura constituency, 10 being public schools and 3 being private schools. Out of this, the sorry state of it, the last KCSE examination that happened, the best school did or got a mean grade of a D plane, the best private school in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, because of time, I wish to request government, the administration, the new administration, to help my constituency and to help farmers in my constituency so that at least we can help in the food security that is in line with the government agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Women Rep Tharaka Nithi. Give her the mic.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm so delighted as I'm called upon to make my maiden speech and the debate a little on the presidential address that was made about 2 weeks ago. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish first to thank you, to really congratulate you for having been elected as in the 13th Parliament as a Speaker. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's a great honor as I stand in this House as the second woman representative, or rather the MP for the Tharaka Nithi County. I first wish to thank the people of Tharaka Nithi County for bestowing on me strength to lead them in the affirmative action, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know it was not easy being lifted from an MCA to a member of parliament, being lifted from a county assembly to a national parliament, and really winning against all the strengths and the times having been elected in a non-domineering party, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also wish to thank my party leader, the TSP party leader who deputized, Honorable Mwangi Kiojori, for really holding my hands and helping me clinch the victory. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm here to affirm to the people of Tharaka Nithi County that I've not come here to make a career, but to make a difference in their lives. I've not come here to act in my interest, but the interest of the people of Tharaka Nithi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to affirm to them that I really hold hands with my MPs, the MP for Tharaka, Honorable John Chietonga Murgara, the MP for Mahara, Honorable Kareke Mbioki, and the MP for Chuke Gambangombe, Honorable Patrick Munene, to ensure that we really promote the issues of Tharaka Nithi County, especially the issues of the affirmative action groups, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know Tharaka Nithi County has really been marginalized. It has faced a lot of historical injustices, but with the leadership of Kenya Kwanza, with the leadership of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, we are really assured the constituency and to the most remote part of Tharaka, the Runduni village, where he has nominated a CS for Interior and Government Coordination, Professor Kedore Kedeke. I really wish to congratulate him and I pray that this House very soon will move ahead and Honorable Beatrice Kamba for having been elected twice as a woman representative for the Tharaka Nithi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the UDA party and the Kenya Kwanza are well aware of the role that Honorable Nkatha played in spearheading the campaign for the UDA party. And this regard, Mr. Speaker, sir, I pray that UDA and Kenya Kwanza really recognize the efforts of Honorable Beatrice Nkatha. I also wish her well in all of our endeavors. Mr. Speaker, sir, as pertains the presidential speech, Mr. Speaker, sir, it was brief and to the point. Mr. Speaker, sir, the presidential speech really has reassured us that we are not here even to tear apart institutions, but to nourish them. That we are not here, that we are here to nurture this nation, Mr. Speaker, sir. As I end this speech, I want to end it with a note that The future of this nation does not belong to the faint-hearted, Mr. Speaker, sir, but to the brave. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I thank this House. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Member for Rabai. Rabai. Rabai, not Aldai. Your turn will come.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kuweza kunipatia fursa hii ya mimi kuweza kutoa maoni yangu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kwanza niseme nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa umbali ambao ameweza kunifikisha hadi siku ya leo niko hapa katika bunge letu tukufu. Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba nichukue fursa hii na ya kipekee kuweza kuwashukuru wakazi wote wa eneo bunge la Rabai kwa kuweza kusimama na mimi na kuweza kujiudhi siku ya kura, wakajitokeza kwa wingi na kuweza kunichagua mimi nikaweze kuwa mtumishi wao. Ninataka kuchukua fursa hii kuweza kuuliza timu yote ile ya Kengamupe aka Apewe kutoka Mwawesa Ward, kutoka Ruruma, kutoka Kamberibe na Rabai Kisurutini. Kwa hakika mlifanya kazi ya maana, kazi nzuri, na mimi kama mtumishi wenu Anthony Kengamupe nataka kuhakikishia wakazi wote wa Rabai nitaweza kuwatumikia pasipo ubaguzi, pasipo kuangalia yule aliyenipigia kura na yule ambaye hakunipigia kura. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikija katika hoja ama hotuba ya Rais. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais ilikuwa ni safi sana, ilikuwa ni fupi, ilikuwa ni nzuri, ilikuwa ni ya kuaminika. Kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, katika hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais aliweza kuzungumzia swala la mambo ya maji. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama tunavyojua katika katiba yetu ya Kenya, ibara ya 43 kifungu kidogo cha kwanza na kifungu cha da kinamhakikishia kila mtu haki ya kupata maji safi na salama na maji ya kutosha. Kwa hiyo nataka niseme kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, ninapongeza sana hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais kwa sababu ameangazia swala la maji. Na mimi nikiwa mtumishi wa Rabai, nikiwa mbunge Rabai, tatizo kubwa sana ni swala la mambo ya maji. Kwa hiyo nataka niseme kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, kupitia hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais amekuja na ubea kuhusu sekta ya umma na sekta ya ubinafsi, kuiwezesha kuhakikisha kwamba sekta hizi zitakuwa zinaweza kusambaza maji katika Wakenya wote. Na mimi nataka niseme kwamba ninapongeza sana hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia nataka niseme kwamba katika hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais alizungumzia masuala ya kwamba ataanzisha Hustlers Fund. Mheshimiwa, mimi nataka niseme kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, kupitia fandi hii vijana wetu wataweza kupata nafasi ya kuweza kufanya biashara ndogo ndogo. Mama mboga, mama fagio, mama kuuza nazi kutoka Rabai atapata nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kujiinua katika maisha. Kwa hiyo nataka niseme Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi napongeza kikamilifu hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais na ninaiunga mkono kwa sababu imezungumzia zile shida za mtu wa chini, hususan kutoka Rabai, Rabai sub county. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikimalizia nataka nikushukuru Mheshimiwa Spika kwa sababu nimekuwa nikijiuliza Mheshimiwa Spika, wewe ni party leader wa Ford Kenya na alama yako ni Simba. Lakini juzi wakati ulipokuwa unatoa mwongozo maamuzi ya hapa bungeni, ni nani wengi katika bunge hili, kwa hakika walisimama kama simba na kuhakikisha kwamba Kenya Kwanza ndio sisi wengi katika bunge hili. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na nakupongeza wewe na naibu wako, na Mungu abariki Kenya. Asanteni sana.
Asante Mheshimiwa mbunge wa Aldai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make my maiden speech. I promise to make it short and sweet, just like the President's speech. First, let me congratulate you and your Deputy Speaker for your election in this House. Let me also congratulate the President for his election. And we are seeing that already, within the 30 days, he has already done so much. We noticed that Honorable Mbabu mentioned that the President has not done anything in 30 days. But we know that in 30 days, the President has done so much. The Hustler Fund, for example, sorry, not the Hustler Fund, but the Fuliza, for example, the interest rate has been reduced by 40%. That is no mean feat, and that has gone a long way in helping the Kenyan Mwananchi, or the bottom-up Mwananchi, in getting credit at a cheaper rate. We also have seen him engage in many international activities, and in those international activities, he's getting many accolades, and he's being saluted by leaders, including the President of the United States of America. So who are we not to appreciate the work that he has done? The work that he has done in 30 days is no mean feat, and is being undermined by the people in the opposition. But he is trying to sort out a problem that was done in 10 years, the messes that were done in 10 years. So far in 30 days, he has done progress. Let's give him time. He has 5 years to deliver, and we are sure that he'll deliver. To the people of Aldai, I'd like to say thank you very, very much for having the faith and giving me this seat. You have done your bit. Mine is to deliver, and I surely will deliver. My 4-point agenda to the people of Aldai, first was the road infrastructure. In the 10 years that the annuity program was put in place, Aldai constituency got 0 kilometers. I would like to use the opportunity I have in this House to ensure that Aldai gets tarmac roads, at least some tarmac roads in the 5 years. The second agenda item is the agenda item on electricity. Many homes still lack electricity. I think we have 30% connectivity in Aldai. We hope that we have many more families getting connected. The third agenda item is on water. And I'm happy that the President in his speech has mentioned that water projects will be done on a public-private partnerships. So we will be able to get water to our homesteads. And finally, on education. We have a big shortage of teachers at the school, in various schools in Aldai, and hence the reason for low performance, or very poor performance in schools. We hope that the Ministry of Education will be able to send in more teachers. Kenya Kwanza promised to employ 106,000 teachers in the first and second year each, and we hope that out of those 106,000 teachers, majority of those teachers will go to our schools to ensure that these schools get enough teachers to be able to improve the teaching standards. On CDF, NGCDF, we are happy that the President recognizes that NGCDF has done a lot in our constituencies, and I will ensure that the NGCDF is used to improve the infrastructure in our schools. More than 25 schools in my constituency are still mad world in this day and age. I hope to ensure that by the time I'm done with my term, all the schools in Aldai constituency there should be no mad in all the schools in Aldai constituency. Priority is to the 25 schools that are still mad world. What I would only encourage is that in the NGCDF, we know that the NGCDF has been very, very successful, but we hope that other government projects, development projects, are channeled through the same framework of NGCDF, just like the way KERA has been fashioned. We hope that other government entities can also fashion their projects to the various constituencies so that each and every constituency gets a pie of any projects or any development projects that are going to be done in the constituencies. I would wish to also mention about a specific school in my constituency that went on strike. We hope that that will be sorted out. Finally, on the issue of CBC, we want to allow
member for Keses.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to also join my colleague members to congratulate you and Mr. Speaker for having been given an opportunity to serve this honorable House. To the members of Keses constituency, the electorates who saw an opportunity to give me this chance to sit in this House and prosecute matters that touches on their lives and transforming their livelihoods. I want to congratulate them, and I want to believe that all of us know when you mention Keses, of course, something comes to your mind. And it wasn't that simple, but I want to thank God that I made it to this House. To the speech of the President, I want to say this is one of the speech ever that has been made in the shortest time that carries the weight of the matters that touches on the Kenyans. And on a quote of what the President says, that I have news and not very good news. Indeed, it was a speech that was made with an openness, without fear, and without hiding on any issues that touches on the Kenyan lives. It is true, and it's a matter of fact that we must admit, even in this House, that the lives of Kenyans are difficult now. The cost of living is on the higher side. The debts that have soiled our Kenyan economy is a reality. And that in this speech, it brings all our minds together to appreciate that we have a big role in this House to support the government in transforming our economic lives so that we are able to have a Kenyan that we dream to have. A Kenyans at the lower base shall enjoy their Kenyanship or their citizenship in this country. Madam Speaker, on the aspect of health care, I want to confirm to this House that we really have and we are facing a lot of challenges on the aspect that our Kenyans are going through now. Over the weekend, I managed to attend 2 families that are bereaved for losing their loved ones because of the challenges of cancer that is now ravaging all our site or our countryside. It is indeed an issue that we need to look at in this House, whether we need to prosecute laws that are going to enable the NHIF specifically to be able to take care of all these illness, especially the terminally illness that whenever it affects our families, one, at the end of it, it takes the lives of our loved ones, and beside that one, it brings down our economic ability. Number 2 is on the enabling of the bottom-up economic model that the President so much has been preaching out through his campaigns, the aspect of education. I come from a county that we entirely depend on education, agriculture, and of course, in education, the higher education. For the last few months, we remember there have been a lot of cases that our universities are aging and collapsing. More universities that I'm privileged to be in my constituency, as it is right now, requires a serious attention of the national government in an aspect of revolutionizing it up, reorganizing it up, so that it retains its glory by producing the human capital we require and by sustaining the supply of the working force in this nation. If at all, we are going to focus on improving our working environment and enabling our youth to be able to receive jobs. On the aspect of Asola Fund, I was able to see in the paragraph 28. I want to appreciate the President for recognizing that we have a working nation. Kenyans who are very resilient. The challenges they are facing at the moment is access to cheap capital, access to funding that can fund their ideas, their innovation. This is something, again, we need to buoy together as a house of making laws and support the President. And I want to believe that the minister that is coming in, Honorable Chelugui, will consider, because I've seen paragraph 28, that the technology will be utilized to ensure this fund is managed. I want to consider, or I want to believe,
that is going to consider giving an opportunity to the youth of this nation, those who can be able to innovate this technology, as an example of appreciating the bottom-up economic model. Lastly, because I've seen my time has gone, Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the President for nominating the just members of Parliament who have sat in this House to the Cabinet. These are the people who resonate well with the ground, people who understand where the real issues are. I want to congratulate them and ask them now, time on their side to prove that indeed we can articulate and prosecute matters that touches the lives of Kenyans. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Member for Karachuonyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm happy that I've got the opportunity. I've really waited, but I think when I spoke with the Speaker himself, he told me to just wait, and I've waited. First, I congratulate you, Madam Speaker, for having been elected to your position, and I also congratulate the Speaker himself. Now, let me take this opportunity to thank my constituents, the Karachuonyo people, for having elected me the second time to the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, I want to refer to the President's speech. In particularly, I want to mention something about the cost of living. Now, when he removed the subsidy on fuel, it really meant that the cost of living had to go up. And as we speak, the cost of living has gone up many times, and the fuel is reaching a level of unaffordability. I think this policy of subsidy for production rather than consumption may not work well for Kenyans. Because if you take, for example, the fuel is imported. The production level or the production part is done in a country outside Kenya. And therefore, the policy of subsidizing productivity cannot apply because we cannot afford to give subsidy to a country outside ours. So I think this is something that should be considered, because otherwise, when fuel price goes up, it will give rise to prices of almost every commodity. Now, the one thing I think the President ought to have mentioned something on, but he very much avoided it, is corruption. Much of our money goes there. And when the President says that he wants to reduce the budget from 3.3 trillion by 0.3 trillion, I think he was trying to make ends meet. But what I want to suggest is that reduction of budget is not helping anything, because it depends on what the budget was doing. If you reduce it by 300 billion, this 300 billion was supposed to do something for Kenyans. How is he going to fund that deficit? This is something that I think needs to be considered, otherwise we are going to have a problem. Maybe he should have gained this 300 billion by reducing corruption at a much higher figure than even the 300 billion he wants. The President visited my own county, and I thank him very much for it. Some people have criticized us, we the elected leaders, that we did not join the President during his visit. But let me say it here and now that criticism is not justified at all. We did not join the President because we did not even know that he was going to Omabay County. And therefore saying that we avoided being with him there is just trying to criticize us for nothing. I want this to go on record, Madam Speaker, because that's a very important thing. We don't want to be reflected negatively even where we are not concerned. Of course, the president has a right to visit any place, anywhere, at his own will, with somebody, a politician, joining him or going alone. That is his right. So he exercised his right. Why bring us into that problem that we did not want to be with him? No, that was not right. Madam Speaker, I see my time is over. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. And I want to say that I'm happy you have given me the opportunity.
Member for Moyale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And as everybody else is doing, may I also take my chance to congratulate you and the Speaker for your election. I also want to thank the people of Moyale, the great people of Moyale, for giving me an opportunity to serve them in this August House. Madam Speaker, I also need to thank the people of Kenya for accepting to remain cohesive, peaceful during the uncomfortable election period. Madam Speaker, as the President said, the election was intensively contested, and in that both sides had almost equal number. And there is another 8 million people who did not vote. You do not know if they had voted which side they would have voted for. However, the people of Kenya remain obedient and loyal to the rule. Even the order of the leadership in this House was disputed and somehow settled in a very not acrimonious way. Madam Speaker, there was no clear winner, and that's why there was that contest. Africans like to refer to leadership as being God-given. And as leaders, and leadership is a choice. As leaders in this House, inside and outside this House, we need to constitute humanity and try to bring the nation together. On the presidential speech, I'm happy that the President talked of universal health coverage. This is a good thing, but I'm of the opinion that we need to find out how to make NHIF cover a universal thing that every Kenyan is entitled to. If you go to our neighbors like Rwanda, they have 98% NHIF coverage. There is no reason why we cannot do it. There is also need for us to achieve that universal health coverage to restructure the health ministry. The health ministry was devolved, but that devolution has actually disadvantaged areas that were already disadvantaged. There's no reason why a doctor should not be moved from Kisumu to work in Garissa and from Garissa to Kisumu. But this business of putting people in counties actually restricts the movements of people, deployment of staff, and therefore disadvantages areas which are already disadvantaged. And it's my view that we shall revisit that health facilities at the level of level 4, level 5, level 6 should be put under the national government, and level 3 to put under the county government. Madam Speaker, people talk of the President had a short speech. It was not short. It was actually 33 minutes of oral presentation. And somebody can cover a wide area. But I listened carefully for his mention on the drought, on the insecurity in the country. Many members on the floor have contributed to the issue of insecurity. Just a few days before his speech here, 11 police officers were killed in Turkana. Even this week, last week, somebody was killed, a police officer was killed. The government of Kenya should take positive action to make sure that these tribal clashes between police, clan clashes should come to an end. Madam Speaker, to finish, drought. The life and the livelihood of people from the north matters. We need to take positive steps to make sure that our lives are protected from recurring droughts, and people should take measures to make sure that the people do not die unnecessarily from the effects of drought every season. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Murang'a County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Betty Njeri Maina, and I wish first to thank Mighty God for giving me an opportunity to be elected as a member for County, Murang'a County. I also wish to thank the people of Murang'a County for electing me in an overwhelming way, being a youth and being a young lady. Madam Speaker, I wish to congratulate the Speaker for having been elected as the Speaker of this 13th Assembly, and for you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for being elected, being a female Deputy Speaker, and also being from the popular caucus of the women reps that used to be unpopular, whereby women rep used to be called flower girls. It shows that this house is coming to birth, and we're really improving, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to go straight and congratulate the President for having nominated Honorable Aris Wahome to be the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation. She is from Murang'a County, and I wish to confirm to the nation that Murang'a County is a hub for beautiful and brilliant women. We are sure that her given the opportunity by this house, she will take water and sanitation matters to the next level. Madam Speaker, I wish to comment on the presidential speech. 70% of the people of Murang'a County depend on agriculture. When we discuss agriculture matters and when we unlock agriculture, we are going to unlock the potential and the economy of the people of Murang'a County. Madam Speaker, I wish to pick a few points that the President talked about reducing the cost of production when it comes to animal feed, and about reducing the cost of farm output, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will not emphasize on issues to do with agriculture because people have commented, members have commented about it, but I wish to go straight to the Hustlers Fund. When you talk about the Hustlers Fund, Madam Speaker, I wish to appreciate the existence of other funds, including the Women Enterprise Fund, the Youth Fund, and also the Wezo Fund. People may have not felt the impact of these funds there previously, but if done, and if these funds are distributed in the right manner, our people are going to feel the positive effects of these funds. Madam Speaker, we have hustlers from this nation. We have young women in this nation who are suffering because of going to other countries looking for greener pastures, and especially our ladies who are going to do works in countries like Saudi Arabia. Madam Speaker, if we empower these people, we are going to mitigate most of these issues. The Caribbean mic. Madam Speaker, if we continue empowering the hustlers, Madam Speaker, if we continue empowering the hustlers, we are going to mitigate the issues of migration, whereby our young ladies are migrating from Kenya to other nations to be misused and to be made captives. Madam Speaker, as I summarize, I would wish to go back to the issue to do with agriculture. If we work on agriculture, we are going to mitigate rural-urban migration and promote urban-rural migration. Through doing this, we are going to create employment, and we are going also to work on the issues of housing, whereby we are going to eradicate issues to do with slums. We are going to eradicate issues to do with congestion in our cities. Madam Speaker, I'm looking forward to working this 13th Parliament, to be mentored, to be guided, and to take the people of Murang'a County to the next level. Thank you.
That was brief and concise and good. Member for Marakwet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Kipchumba, the Member of Parliament, Marakwet West. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make these remarks. One, I wish to thank the people of Marakwet West for electing me. Madam Speaker, I was elected under extremely exceptional circumstances. I supposedly or allegedly lost the UDA nomination, and I went back to the ballot via the independent ticket, and the people of Marakwet West elected me overwhelmingly through the independent ticket. And I want to thank them so much. I wish to thank the people of Aruru Ward, the people of Kapsowar Ward, the people of Moibon Kusero Ward, the people of Leland Ward, the people of Cherangani Chibarora Ward, and the people of Sengwer Ward for electing me to this house. Madam Speaker, I came to this house when I was very young. I came to this house in the year 1996 when I was class 4 in Kamasat Primary School. Madam Speaker, when I came at that time, I think it painted a picture, and I made sure that whenever I schooled, whatever I schooled, I told myself that one day I must be in this house, and I thank God because I got an opportunity to be in this house. Madam Speaker, insofar as the presidential address is concerned, this time round, we have an exceptional president. If you read the book of A Man of the People by Chinua Achebe, there's a character known as Chief Nanga, who was described as a man of the people. I think His Excellency the President fits that definition. He is truly a man of the people. And I believe that when he settles down to work, you shall have a president of the people, by the people, and for the people. Madam Speaker, what touched me on the President's speech was his commitment to the rule of law. For me, that is a cardinal principle that this country must be ruled upon. We must be a country that abides by the rule of law. Madam Speaker, I want to commend because the first thing he did was to appoint the judges, the 6 judges who are in abeyance by the other regime. And I think that was a hallmark of obedience to the rule of law. Madam Speaker, the President also committed that he would implement bottom-up scaling of justice. Madam Speaker, I come from a constituency where we have one court serving 4 constituencies. The court is located in Iten. In Marakwet West, we have no court. Marakwet East, we have no court. Keyo North and Keyo South, they are only served by one court in Iten. Madam Speaker, I believe that going forward, we shall have many courts at the local level. Madam Speaker, I also want to comment on an issue that the President made, that he would implore upon this House to amend the standing orders so that the CSs can appear before the floor of the House so that they can be asked questions. Madam Speaker, I am inclined to the school of thought that as per the current constitutional dispensation, the CSS may not appear before the floor of this House because the architecture of our constitution is presidential. And that will call for a relook at our constitutional architecture so that the members or the CSS can be able to appear before the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, on the issue of CDF, I think personally, without CDF, there is nothing much that the members of the National Assembly can be able to achieve. So I think since we have the goodwill of the President, it would be good if the same is entrenched in the Constitution, the same is constitutionalized, so that just like other funds, the CDF is entrenched in the Constitution. On the security matter, he never touched it, but I believe we have confidence. I have confidence that security along Kerio Valley Belt shall be dealt with accordingly by this government. Finally, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the President for appointing our CS Kipchumba Murkomen, our Senator, to be the CS for roads, transport, and infrastructure. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Nominated member from Garissa, Honorable Harun.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. My name is Mulkhair Harun, and it is with great honor and responsibility that I'm able to serve in this 13th Parliament. I appreciate my party, ODM, for believing in my capacity and for allowing me to represent the interest of young people in this country. I also want to congratulate all members who are elected and nominated from different political parties and wish them well as they discharge their mandate. Madam Speaker, President William Samoei Ruto in his inaugural session of this House outlined various issues in his administration and would wish to undertake. One fundamental issue His Excellency touched that was of immediate consideration is the current drought afflicting our people in northern parts of our country. I would urge the President to work closely with the Pastoral Parliamentary Group to address the immediate needs as well as stable long-term solutions. ASAL regions make up 89% of land cover of this country. Madam Speaker, I would like to let the House know that the best lemons and watermelons come from Garissa County and northern Kenya at large. On Hustlers Fund, it is my belief that the President will actualize his pledge to the youth who I represent in this House. I urge him to ensure the fund is immediately availed to these Kenyans on an affordable interest rates to either expand or start their businesses. On GMOs, a country like Kenya isn't having food shortage because it can't produce enough. The food shortage is largely because we are not producing for subsistence use. We are producing for international market whose economic policies do not favor the producers, especially in the third world countries. Kenya does not need GMOs to tackle food security. What we need are policies and universally available food preservation methods. We use a lot of food, we lose a lot of food to wastage due to rejection by international exporters. Using the drought as a reason to allow GMOs in Kenya is wrong without ensuring all the safeguards are in place. For example, Kenya has not ratified the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol to Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. The protocol provides international rules and procedures in the field of liability and redress relating to living modified organisms. The protocol requires that response measures are taken in the event of damage resulting from the living modified organisms or where there is sufficient likelihood that damage will result if timely response measures are not taken. My question is then, how do we open ourselves to this biotechnology without proper protection measures in the name of food security? Instead, why don't we build dams and dispatch irrigation technology to address the food security challenge? We should invest in organic foods instead of going GMO. We have plenty of arable land that if irrigated, we can feed ourselves and export food. Interesting to note that when NEP counties are short of food, farmers in Molo are feeding fresh produce to their animals due to lack of market. GMO will have adverse effects on organic farming. My question is, has the government consulted the public? Was there any form of public participation before this decision was made? How can the government arbitrarily make such decisions while being subservient to foreign interests? The decision has regional implications. Tanzania, for example, has already braced itself for the possibility of our GMOs finding its way in its country, thus affecting the harmony of freedom between neighboring states of the East African community. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to representing the interests of young people in this House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Trans Nzoia County. Okay, member for Trans Nzoia County. Is she here? Okay.